Am I the asshole here for saying my brother shouldn't have brought his pregnant girlfriend to my wedding and for refusing to let her be in my wedding photos? I got married last weekend. I'm still so pissed off at what my brother did. He took all of the attention off me and my husband. Normally, I don't feel the need to be the center of attention, but this was my frickin' wedding day. I feel like it's all anyone was talking about during the wedding, and now it's like the main thing any of them even remember from the entire thing. It was a destination wedding within the US, so nothing crazy. We kept the guest list to our families, immediate and extended, as well as closest friends. My parents paid for our immediate family to arrive about 5 days ahead of time. So it was my parents, my sister, and I initially, and my brother arriving a few days later. We knew my husband was bringing a date. No big deal. He said he was just bringing a girl from school. He didn't even call her his girlfriend officially. My parents showed up at the airport to pick my brother up, and there he was, hand in hand with an obviously pregnant girl that none of us have ever met. My parents were obviously taken aback. My brother greeted them like everything was normal, according to my mum, and my parents didn't really know what to do or say. Then he just said, "Surprise!" My poor mum almost fainted and claims my dad yelled out, "What the f*** have you done?" He introduces us to this girl, but doesn't clarify if she's his girlfriend and doesn't give us much info at all, really. It was very weird. It was obvious that she was uncomfortable. She said she wasn't feeling well and needed to go lay down after the flight. So at dinner, it was just our family as she was resting. We were all awkwardly sitting around the table eating dinner, barely saying a word. My mum finally says, "Brother's name, is that your baby?" By then we all assumed it was, but my mum needed confirmation. Oh my, I didn't even think of that. Jesus. The lack of any real explanation or details from him up until then was just odd. He admitted that it's technically not his baby, but he's... Oh shit, no. But he's in love with her and intends on being a father to the baby anyway. Has he been taking his medication? Can someone check on this guy? What is he doing bringing her here? The actual father isn't involved and doesn't want to be. And if they get married, then he can adopt the baby so he'll legally be the father. She's living with him, and none of us knew this either. He's been her main support person throughout the entire thing. She's 28 weeks, well, 29 now since this was over a week ago. I think this was far worse than what we had all assumed. So in love with her that he's going to take on the responsibility of her child and marry her, yet we've never even heard of her? Hey man, trauma bonding is a hell of a thing, huh? Who am I to yuck their yum? He said he has mentioned her quite a few times, actually. Well, maybe he's mentioned her name in passing. Not to me, but maybe to my parents, but never said that she was his girlfriend or pregnant. None of us understand. He's 21, about to graduate college, planning to enter law school next, and he's an attractive guy. Why would he do this? My parents, especially my mum, were stressing out about it all weekend long throughout my entire wedding weekend. It was like my wedding became an afterthought. All my parents could talk about was how to make my brother change his mind about this girl. Then, when the wedding photographer was taking family pictures, he wanted her in them. That was really the breaking point for me. She isn't family. None of us knew about their relationship, and we met her 2 days prior. She shouldn't be in our official family pictures from my wedding. It's like, forget about the bride and groom, look at the random heavily pregnant woman hitching herself to my brother. No. I told him no. I refused to let her be in the photos. My mum made me allow her to be in one picture, but we said we don't have to buy that one or put it in a display anywhere. It just made my blood boil. Anyway, I don't think he should have brought her. There was no reason to bring her to my wedding, especially without warning. I mean, it's all my side of the family could talk about, and he was reticent to even correct them about it not being his baby. He said it was because it was awkward for her to have to explain the full scenario to everyone, so he just let people think what they wanted, and because he wouldn't at least say something, everyone was gossiping and wondering about it the whole time. Man, can we just get back to the gaycation? I can't deal with this. I'm posting this because I'm upset that several friends and even my own mum are telling me that I'm overreacting and just need to accept it. When I told a group of my coworkers about it after the fact, they weren't at the wedding, they agreed with me and thought that what my brother did was absolutely insane and rude. In the comments, Jacinta says, I think he knew that in a wedding setting that attention would be divided. Your wedding was his meat shield. Agreed. Had the brother introduced her at home, his parents might have completely lost their shit on him. At OP's wedding, he thought his parents would be focused on the wedding and their response would be muted. I would be pissed too. OP says, interesting take and something that I hadn't thought of. He was purposely trying to take attention away from me and my wedding. He just wanted some of the attention taken off of him and his poor decisions? Still selfish. Calling Water replies, yes, it probably wasn't about wanting attention as much as it was about using your event. Your parents couldn't make too much of a stink about his situation because that would ruin your wedding. And it also enabled him to push for rapid acceptance, which is why he wanted her in the pictures. From his perspective, he's now past the most awkward parts of telling everyone and getting her included, and nobody could argue too much because it would have disrupted things for you. OP replies, yeah, I understand that now and think everyone suggesting this explanation is probably correct, opposed to my, you're just so thoughtless, selfish, and rude explanation. Rinmi says, not the arsehole. What he did was an arsehole move, though he probably didn't think it through enough to realize all the implications of his actions. He absolutely shouldn't have dropped that bomb at your wedding, or any wedding. OP says, I don't think he did it to be malicious. I don't think he thought about what he was doing to me. He also hasn't apologized, though. If after being told something you did was rude and hurtful, at least own up to it. Rinmi replies, he's wrapped up in his own big drama and probably doesn't even see your side of things. Or the girlfriend's side. I feel so sad for her, being thrown into family drama like that. The brother acted like everyone else's props in the play of his life. From my point of view, given how we talk about weddings as like a all-encompassing, my way or the highway, no one else messes with my wedding, I do what I want kind of deal, OP should have removed him from the wedding as soon as she saw him come home with a pregnant woman, knowing that this was going to cause drama. Sure, it'd be more drama than it's worth and you'd still have rumors at the wedding, but at least it wouldn't be in your face. And it wouldn't take away from the wedding day as much as it did having them there. I know hindsight is 20/20, but, you know, you gotta stand up for yourself, surely. How do you not come together with your partner that you're marrying and being like, okay, the wedding's just about to happen, there's some real crazy shit that's going on right now, what do we do? And then come together and be like, they can't come. They just can't be there. I don't care. This is too much to deal with. They are assholes for making this day about them when it's supposed to be about us. They should fly home. They should go away. They should not be my problem. How dare they do this? Who the hell do they think they are? Get out of my face. This is disgusting, disturbing, and I want nothing to do with it, and I want you to leave now. That's what I would hope I do in a situation like this, but I've unfortunately not been faced with something like this yet. So this is me training for when that day comes. I don't think you're the asshole here at all, OP. I think what they did to you and the situation they put you in was so unfair. And now, onto the update. I think I might be about to do what I'm assuming very few people come here to do. I'm sharing an update, and want to say that in hindsight, I think I was actually the asshole in my situation. I think I was riding high on wedding hormones and center of the universe vibes at the time, but I've slowly come down to earth in the many weeks since I last posted. I let my worry about the gossip about my brother and his girlfriend get in the way of me enjoying my day, me when I gaslight myself, and there's no way to go back and change it. I also realized that I should have just agreed to do one photo with his girlfriend included. One photo wouldn't have been important, and it didn't have to be considered the official photo of me and my family that I put in my wedding album or hung on the wall. Instead, I chose to be a witch to somebody, me when I gaslight myself, that I was meeting for the first time, and we already felt very uncomfortable. For many weeks after I made my first post, I was sure that I was not the asshole. My head has deflated, and I've had a talk with my brother about it. We both came to the conclusion that in our family, we didn't really learn to have difficult conversations about things that we knew might make someone else uncomfortable, which is why I couldn't calmly voice my feelings to my brother on my wedding day and instead acted like a spoiled child. It's also why, instead of having a normal conversation with our parents to let them know that he was dating somebody who was pregnant by somebody else and that he was going to be raising this baby as his own, he panicked and just decided to announce it without actually having to voice it to them at all, and my wedding just so happened to be the first occasion that he had to do so. I don't think he mentioned to hurt me. OP, that is so incredibly disrespectful and insane. He's an adult. He has a brain. He had time to do this. That is no excuse. Several people have asked me about an update on my brother and his girlfriend. Well, she's his wife now. Oh, God. They got married. They're still together, living together. We've gotten to know her a little better, and she's not as bad as we all wanted to make her out to be. I think she genuinely loves my brother, and my brother loves her. She just so happened to be pregnant when they met, and they both acknowledge it's a bit unusual. My brother is the type who brings all the stray animals home, so I think we all sort of worried that he just felt bad for her and wanted to help her and protect her, but I think it's more than that. I went to her baby shower. She seemed perfectly normal and nice, and really crazy about my brother. Emphasis on the crazy. The baby was finally born at 41 weeks, and of course my brother was there. The baby is several weeks old now. Half the time I forget that the baby isn't actually my brother's baby and isn't actually related to us by blood. After my wedding, my parents started to get more concerned about the whole situation with my brother. My mum became the most judgmental one. My brother talked to our dad and eventually got him to realize that my brother is an adult and he's going to do what he wants to do. Eventually, my dad was like, "You're right, and I'd rather just support you here." My mother couldn't get on board. She wouldn't let herself even give his girlfriend/wife a chance. She convinced herself that my brother was just being manipulated and taken advantage of by this evil woman. She told everyone that too, so things were sort of tense because I felt somewhat in the middle at that point. But now, my mom has been the only person to babysit since the birth. It's like she saw the baby and forgot all about everything, and she's all cuddy-buddy with his wife now. I'm shocked that this woman has decided to not completely cut my mum out of the baby's life altogether, but perhaps she's a bigger person than all of us. Comments by OP. My brother has a big heart and can't resist helping somebody who he determines is in need. We worried about whether he was genuinely with her because he was in love with her, or if he was with her because he felt bad about her situation and had convinced himself he was in love with her. This is how we sort of looked at the situation previously, not currently. I didn't have to come back here and admit to anything. Nobody is forcing me to admit it. I've received several messages asking me for an update and finally decided to post one, admitting the truth as I see it now. I'm not comparing her to a stray animal. I was only trying to explain that my brother likes to rescue things, and the entire situation was just odd to all of us at the time. Those are thoughts that I previously had, and I admitted I was previously the arsehole. In the comments, Goddess of the Cat says, "I still don't think OP was the arsehole." Right? She only thinks she is now because she knows and likes her sister-in-law, but she was totally justified in her first encounter. I agree with her assessment that she could have been kinder to the pregnant woman stuck in a terrible situation. Arsehole seems excessive though, especially with the advent of digital photography. Having the lady in a couple of pictures hurts no one. I'm sorry, but it sounds like her family convinced her later she was wrong. I was hardly in any of my brother-in-law's wedding photos, and I'd already been married to his sister for 6 years, and we had 2 kids in the wedding. I could never in a million years see my wife demanding I be in more or in the core. Divorced mum and dad, my wife, brother-in-law, his wife, family picture. I guess OP did explain why they think they were the asshole in that situation, but I think they're gaslighting themselves. They're like, oh, actually, reality was different in that situation and I was just hooked up on wedding hormones. No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think you had a perfectly reasonable reaction to this because they took the focus off of your wedding, and he knowingly took the focus off your wedding. He knew that she was pregnant for how long? How long were they dating that he knew that she was pregnant, and he never thought to bring that up before? He thought, actually, I'm so scared of confrontation. I'm an adult. I'm not an adult at the same time. The best way to actually solve this situation is to bring my pregnant girlfriend out of the blue to the wedding, and that's the perfect way to bring her up to the family. That is fucking insane. That is so disrespectful. That is so rude. That is crazy. That is a crazy thing to do, and you will not change my mind that that's a crazy, rude, disrespectful thing to do. And the fact that she went along with it as well, knowing how crazy that would be, tells me all I need to know about her in that moment in time. I personally would be so embarrassed to be in her shoes, brought into drama like that, to have my introduction to his family be that. That is so embarrassing. There are so many other ways this could have been handled with grace and with dignity and with respect, and he chose to drop a bombshell onto your wedding and take the focus away from it. No. Stop telling us that you were the asshole for that. I'm not convinced, and I don't think you are. Situations may have changed since then, but as the situation stood at the time, that was crazy. That was uncalled for, and you deserved better on your wedding day. But whatever, everyone deals with situations differently. That's how I react to this situation. It's got me heated. It's got me pissed off. I'll end it there. So thanks for listening to my rant. Let's go have a cup of tea and calm down. Am I the asshole here for telling my sister nobody was surprised when her kids said he did not care she was alive or not? I come from a big family. We have 5 siblings, 2 sets of twins, 50 female, my sister, her twin died in utero, 47 male, me and my brother, 42 female, my 2 other sisters. We are talking about our biggest one. My parents were really careful to not parentify him because they both had the same fate in their family. They took good care of us. All of us have fruitful and satisfying careers. The problem is, at least for my sister, they didn't push us there. They encouraged, but they never had the expectation. This was a problem for my biggest sister. She always found them lazy and unmotivated, and she limited contact with us after she graduated law school. She has become a really successful lawyer, married to a renowned surgeon, who is my friend from medical school, a really ambitious guy who is also a real OCD, and had his son at age 32 via IVF. It was all planned. After she had her son, aka my nephew, she started to push him really hard. She was trying to make him read at age 2, she sent him to piano lessons from age 4, and had one-on-one tutors since he was in 1st grade. He was never allowed to have free time, and every moment of his life was curated. The only time that he had was Saturday afternoon, and where he would visit my parents, and we always planned events and free time for him. His teenage years were absolute hell. He was forced beyond his capacities by my sister and brother-in-law, and when he was 16, he tried to commit suicide at the hospital that brother-in-law works at by stealing benzo from the nurse counter. After that, he had a good time in the inpatient ward. 5 months in ward, 3 months in a group home, and after that, he wanted to stay with me. I'm the only one from my siblings who don't have a kid, and I live with my husband in a 3-store villa, so he can have the roof to himself. Brother-in-law had an awakening, and he divorced my sister after this. Him and my nephew had a year of family therapy, and last summer, he moved back in with brother-in-law, and he also decided to pursue medicine. I don't live in the US. Medical school starts directly after high school, and it's 6 years. During that time, my sister really dug into her heels. She blamed us and my brother-in-law for letting him be weak, and she said he was alive and he had to endure this so he could become resilient and untouchable. She said in the court, "I don't care he feels bad. This is life. You either climb the ladder or you fall down. If he fell down, there's nothing we can do. Life goes on." I never saw someone to look with pure anger like the head judge, and he said, "You are a really successful lawyer. I should give you that, but you really are a terrible person and a being that can't be called a good parent," and turned to my brother-in-law and said, "You need help. A lot of help." Last January, my sister had a mini stroke, TIA, and she genuinely started to think about her life as I understood from my brother, who was the only one of us that checks up on her, and last week, she tried to reach my nephew, but he directly said he didn't care if she was alive or not. When she tried to talk to me about that, I briefly said, "What were you expecting, sis?" And I closed the call. Now all of the family calls me an arsehole, and they think that I should have supported her. In the comments, to a now deleted comment, OP says, "I do remember how her fellow lawyers talked about her after this, and she was very heavily criticized. I have some high school buddies who are lawyers, and they had very juicy gossip about her. She's one of the lawyers they call Hayfish in German. She is known for her relentless ambition, an almost pathological hunger for dominance." Another commenter says, "Growing up with her as a sibling must have been fun." OP replies, "She didn't interact with us much, so I can say that she wasn't a big problem for us. She was a problem for our parents, though. I remember her yelling at them for not sending her to boarding school because they thought that it had a really unhealthy school culture. I wonder sometimes if they sent her to that school, if she would have woken up way earlier." Someone else says, "Not the asshole. Your poor nephew. He never got to have a childhood. He only got to be a kid for a few hours a week, and the rest was spent constantly working. His home life was so horrible that an effing inpatient ward was a good time for him. OP, your sister is the devil. I hate her on your son's behalf. She is evil. Honestly, your brother-in-law is incredibly lucky that his son gave him another chance because he's just as guilty for standing aside." OP says, "My brother-in-law only knew hard work and grinding, and I don't blame him. He was and still is one of the best cardiac surgeons in my area, and I work with him at the same hospital. He's a really good guy at heart, and came from a really poor family. I got him, and his son saw him from a really different light when my sister wasn't in the picture. Life is complicated." Someone else asks, "Do you think he was also victimized by your sister?" And OP says, "To a degree, yes. My sister calculated her marriage with him at a precision. At divorce hearings, when she was asked about her marriage, she said that it was calculated to maximize the benefits of being married with another person and just saw it as a step in the right direction." On the divorce, OP says, "I think she saw them as dead weight and wanted to be free as soon as possible when brother-in-law sided with my nephew. It's really hard to understand what my sister's logic is." Someone else says, "I don't know if you've already described it, but can you tell us about your parents' parenting style, philosophy, and methods to the madness? I am prompted to get any help I can, as I have a young daughter that is a bit of a meanie, and not one that likes to take advice. By the way, you're not the asshole. I think you think it was a long time coming." And OP says, "They were heavy on natural consequences and being tolerant to others. Work and general ethics has always been important for them, and they always relayed the message of collaboration and cooperation. They also really emphasized on the need of relaxation and self-care too. My mother and father are also in the healthcare field, although they retired when I was in residency, and they saw too many burnouts." Someone else asks, "I'm really confused about the family dynamic established by your parents. Your first paragraph is extremely unclear. Did they create this precedence of pushing you all into high-powered careers?" And OP says, "Honestly, no. I chose medicine, but I really liked it. My brother became a welder because he didn't have a thing for academics. My younger two sisters are preschool teachers, one in a special education field. Honestly, they're really chill people." Honestly, I don't think that OP is the asshole here for being against his sister, for saying that no one was surprised when her kid said he didn't care if she was alive or not, because what do you want me to say? You parented this child like you hated them. You entered this marriage as a business deal and not what a marriage should be. I'm sure everyone is very flexible in what a marriage is and what a marriage should be and the ideal marriage, but from my point of view, she got married for the benefits of it alone, much like that military story. And look, there was people in the comments for that one as well that said, if you had to live in the military barracks, you'd want to get married to get the hell out of there. So, yes, Getting married for benefits makes a lot of sense sometimes, but at the same time, you'd probably not want the entire foundation of that marriage to be based on the benefits alone and not the person you're getting married to. Like they are an afterthought in all of this, because that's what OP's sister's husband was, OP's brother-in-law was, in this situation. And look at the toll that took on him. She sounds to me, if not sociopathic, psychopathic. I really don't know which one to land on in this one, but given how severe her behavior was towards her husband, everyone else, and especially her child, I'm leaning on psychopathic. That is genuinely psychopathic behavior. It went completely against how her parents raised her, and it didn't end well. The kid tried to kill himself. How do you not see that you've failed as a parent when your kid tries to remove themselves from this world because of you? She failed as a parent, and she lives in denial that she failed as a parent. She's a horrible person. She deserves to feel horrible for that. And it's unlikely that she is going to change her ways, because why would she? Everything is a competition. She exists to dominate others, and not in a good way. So no, you're not the asshole, OP. I don't feel bad for her at all that you said that. And now, onto the update. My brother had a talk with her. He laid down all the stuff that I said here and made her read this post. To our surprise, she knew about Reddit. When she asked about what to do about it, he said that she should be working on herself and maybe be in peace with the fact that she will die alone in a care home. He said she was looking really defeated, but she got why she was abandoned by the family. She will leave the town for transferring her office to another state because she said to me that it was too much pain for her. Again, egocentric perspective, but she will leave at least. She's leaving next Monday. My nephew said that she wants to look at her eyes one last time before leaving, so he will meet her on Saturday afternoon at my brother's house. And on to the latest updates. Good morning from the grey city of Cologne. I have an update, and after 24 hours to answer people's questions, I will log out from this account because I think it's over. Also, Reddit is really overstimulating for a guy who is in their second half of their 40s. First of all, my family does not blame me for her situation. They think I was an asshole for not listening to her. They apologized after seeing the post though. All is well, we communicated. I also apologized for being too rough on them. My sister is another story. Last night, we went to the house of my brother and sister-in-law. She was there, sitting with no expression, just a dull face. When my nephew greeted her, she just said, "Hello, son," with a really neutral voice. Scary, even. She looked at him after 5 minutes of silence and said, "I failed to raise you. I gave you so much pain, and I almost caused your life. For that, I am sorry. I am sorry for not realizing it sooner. On Monday, I will be leaving your lives, and I will not ever come back. I just want you to know that I did what I thought was best. I understand now it wasn't." My nephew looked at him and said, "I unfortunately know. I know and see you still believe that we have to move on. I will move on, mother, but without you. I will move with the people who loved me, not with someone who sees me as a training dog. Farewell, mother." And he gestured with his head that he wants to go. I looked at my sister and said, "Bye, sis. I hope you find peace with your new life." She silently nodded, and we left. My brother and sister-in-law told me that she will legally separate her ties with us in every way possible. They are helping her to do that, and sister-in-law said, "We need this, and she needs this. Us being separate will be much better for all of us." Not a big ending, but it is an ending to this. My parents and her had a talk on Friday, and they realized the wounds are too big and painful to heal together. Not a happy ending, but at least it ended. Thank you all for reading. I also took note of your recommendations, and I will be applying them. Last note, dear all, I took your concerns and had a phone call with her. I talked with her, and she does not want an ounce of it. She said she doesn't want to come that close with death ever again. She's currently preparing for her new life, and she is just like herself, stoic, ready for new horizons, and leaving her old life behind. I am also a doctor, and I had my fair share of suicidal patients. She's fine, but also thanks for your concerns about her. Honestly, I don't care anymore what's happening to her. My parents care about her death, and this is enough for me. Goodbye. And that's where I'll leave that one. You know, it can't always be a happy ending where, oh, she has seen the error of her ways, she will change, and we will work this out together as a family. Sometimes that bridge has been burnt too hard, and there isn't a possibility of an olive branch being extended because even after all of this, her son doesn't want to reconnect with her. Her son wants to move on, and she recognizes that this is the best option for her. This is a very tragic ending to the story, but I think this is a healthy way to continue living. We all love to root for the underdog and say, people can change, people can do better. Oh my God, she was willing to communicate and be transparent and open and apologize for what she's done, but that doesn't fix things. And that doesn't mean that things can be fixed. I think she recognizes that it is unsalvageable for her, that she is not able to change in the way that everyone would like her to, because that is not who she is. And I respect that. I respect realizing that there is no point. I don't like her, but I understand where she's coming from and I respect it. I still think that this is for the best. You're welcome to disagree with me if you want to, but it's better than repeating mistakes once again if you don't think that it's worth fighting for. That's all. I'd love to know your opinions on this one. Let me know down below. Let's see what the next story has for us. Am I the asshole for not attending my daughter's gender reveal for her lizard? This is literally really stupid, but she's really upset about it. So my 48 daughter, 23, has a blue-tongued skink who she heavily adores. She jokingly refers to it as her daughter. I've found it weird, but she says it's because it's the closest thing that she'd have to a child, and she feels a strong emotional bond similar to a child. She had decided to remain child-free for multiple reasons, and I have been very supportive of this decision. Well, she recently took her skink to the vet for a checkup, and she was excited to find out her skink's gender. Afterwards, I got a text asking if I would come to her gender reveal party that she was having. She explained that it was just a small get-together with a cake and food for her friends that she hasn't seen in a while, with their gender reveal being mostly a joke, and a way to make fun of real gender reveals. Well, I didn't come. I didn't see a point. It's just a lizard, and I'm a busy person. She later called me and expressed that she was kind of sad that I didn't come because it had been a while since I'd seen her, but she understood that I was busy. I told her she couldn't actually expect me to come to a gender reveal for a lizard. She said that it wasn't a real gender reveal. That was more of a joke, and it was really just a small gathering to catch up with everyone. I told her that if that was the case, she should have just called it a gathering because I'm not coming to a gender reveal unless it's for a real granddaughter. Okay, sourpuss. She got quiet for a minute and then turned my words around, claiming that I wasn't supportive of her decision to be child-free. I told her that she can't possibly expect me to treat a lizard as a granddaughter. She said she didn't expect me to, but it was clear that I didn't respect her bond with her lizard and her decision, and she just wanted to see me, and my reason for coming was hurtful. I told her she was being ridiculous over a lizard. She claimed it wasn't over the lizard, and it was a gathering, and not even centered around the lizard, but I stuck by what I said. It's ridiculous to have a gender reveal for a lizard. She hung up, and I got a message from her best friend about how I'm an asshole for treating her that way. But I don't think I'm the asshole for not wanting to go to a party for a lizard. Edit. In the time I was away, I got so many replies, and it was a lot to read through. Let me clear a couple of things up. 1. My issue is that she said the party was a gender reveal. If she had called it just a party, I would have come. But calling it a gender reveal makes it sound like it's for the lizard, and I'm not going to go to that even if it's a joke. 2. I don't know why it matters, but the skink is a girl, which is why I said I'm not coming to a gender reveal unless it's for a real granddaughter. 3. Even though I don't agree with my daughter for being child-free, I've been supportive and only shown mild frustration. The reasons she decided to be child-free is she claims that she is asexual. She just doesn't want one. She has emotional baggage and feels unable to care for a real child. She fears pregnancy, and she has a carrier gene like me and doesn't want to go through what I did. I had 4 miscarriages and a highly defect child that died after 3 months due to the gene. Yes, there has been slight tension between us because I think she just hasn't found the right man. She never dated growing up, and her other fears are unnecessarily exaggerated, but it's ultimately her decision, and I don't resent her. I just know some of you are screaming after that one. What in God's name did you just say, OP? 4. We haven't seen each other in 3 months. I'm a single mother, and we have always been close, which is why she invited me with her friends. I just didn't want to go to a party with a lizard, and if it wasn't for the lizard, she should have called it a party instead of a gender reveal. In the comments, I think this is the issue right here. OP is stingy with love. Quote, why should I love a stupid lizard? Why can't you get interested in the things that your kid likes and share her excitement and joy? Just the little things. No, she's never going to have kids, so you could have seen that adorable, quirky kid that you raised to be as funny and sweet as she is, and gone to her party and mingled with her probably also quirky, funny, sweet friends and had a lovely time. But no. What a loss. How sad. OP replies, I'll be honest, I don't have any particular feelings for the lizard. I think it looks like a snake, and that freaks me out, and it's incapable of feeling emotions, so I don't know why she feels a bond with it. She even named it Ellie, a human name, so she can tell people I have to get home to Ellie, so she can act like she's busy with a kid at home, which I believe is an unhealthy way to cope with her social anxiety. She should learn to get comfortable with saying no instead of using a lizard as an excuse to neglect social obligations. Maywen 1979 says, huge, you're the asshole. At first I was like, okay, I get it. She jokes about it being for the lizard, but then I got to your updates. She claims she's asexual? You have totally invalidated your 23-year-old daughter who knows very well by now who the hell she is. Your following comment, I think she just hasn't found the right man, she never dated growing up. Hello? She was waving a huge flag there. She's asexual. If she came out as lesbian, would you say that she'd not met the right man? Next, you invalidate her fears of going through the same heartbreak that yourself went through trying to have other kids from miscarriages to a child who passed after such a short life. Not everyone is as emotionally stunted as you that they could speak of those situations so devoid of feeling. I'm actually tearing up thinking about what you went through and how in your small mind you wish your own surviving child would go through it as well just to pop out a kid. Get over yourself, mum. And yes, quotes, because you do not deserve that title any longer. I hope this shows your amazing asexual daughter that her life is 1,000 times better without you in it. Also, for your sake, OP, go get therapy. You need to reconnect with your emotions. OP replies, I wouldn't say that I've invalidated it. She says she doesn't experience sexual and romantic attraction, nor has a want for it, which is only because she hasn't found the right person yet. It's impossible for someone to not feel such a natural feeling. Everyone feels it. It is a normal chemical in our body. I've tried to explain this to her. For some reason, she fears physical interaction with men. I think her fears probably stem from not having a father because he left when she was 3. Yes, it was hard on me. There were many tears, and it's partly why her father left, but that's what mothers do. She knows how important to me it is that I finally gave birth to a child that actually lived to grow up. And it does hurt that she wouldn't continue for me when I went through that pain. That's why there's been tension for her decision. And I will admit that I'm unhappy with her decision, but I've been as supportive as I can and haven't been mean about it. Hold up. What do you mean you've been as supportive as you can and you haven't been mean about it? What did you just write before? Wait, you're lying. You're literally gaslighting yourself then. I haven't been mean or unsupportive. But also, I hate my daughter being asexual, and I don't support that sexuality. She just hasn't found the right man yet. What's with the doublethink here, OP? What are you talking about? Just say that you hate her for not giving you grandkids and just move on already. You could have so easily have been just a chill, best friend kind of parent with your daughter and gone along with it and kept all of that to yourself. It's okay to do that, by the way. You're just going down a dark path that ends in her cutting you out of her life completely, and you will have deserved it if and when that happens. Not sorry to say, sucks to be you that is going to be your future, and I hope you change, but I don't think you will, so good luck with that. You sound like a horrible person. You may lie and say that you have been supportive and you haven't been mean about it, but that's not true. It's just not. And the update to this situation is the friend's reply. You're the asshole, and I'm surprised you had the gall to post this, knowing that she frequents Reddit. This is the best friend that texted you. You blocked my number, not that it matters. You know it wasn't about the reveal. It was an excuse to hold a party. We had fun without you. The lizard had an adorable tiny party hat. We had a cake that said, "It's a girl," and we popped a glittery, sparkly party popper. It got all over the walls and ceiling, and our friend John and we started making jokes like, "Call the EMS for John," and "They do say gender reveals are dangerous. Who knew?" But I'm sure she sent you the video so you know what you missed out on. We made fun of it for the most part and blasted The Last of Us music, since that's where Ellie's name comes from, not because she wanted an excuse for her social anxiety. She struggled with her identity for years, and you were never supportive. When she was trying to figure out if she was a lesbian, you sat her down for 30 minutes and explained how it's normal to get feelings confused, but people weren't meant to like the same gender, and it was probably just friendship feelings that she was confusing. You're part of the reason that she never explored her sexuality further with your "sex is natural" and "you can't have a relationship without sex" comments, knowing not only is she mildly autistic and already struggles to understand and comprehend her emotions, but she's also a victim of a negative experience. You know she has a codependency issue, and living by herself has been really difficult for her to overcome, and Ellie has helped immensely. She was upset that you didn't come when she wanted to see you because she adores you, and you didn't even call her for Thanksgiving. In the comments, Emma Cobb says, "Sorry, but OP is just glossing over the whole, I'm a carrier of a disease that made me miscarry 4 times and have a very sick child who died, and my daughter has the same gene, so that means that she should have kids too? OP is 7 layers of fucked up, but those are the beans of the situation." The way she wrote her very sad experience with pregnancies made me think that she isn't processing her emotions and trauma properly, or she doesn't understand how to, and therefore cannot relate to her daughter's fear of sexual intimacy, and the fear of getting pregnant, and experiencing infant death or miscarriages. Yes, I have to say, the impression I'm building is of someone who wouldn't be able to handle how she felt about a gender reveal joke. She decided not to go because she can't begin to unpack the complexity of emotions that she has around her own trauma, her views on sexuality, her own daughter's sexuality, and her daughter's decision not to have grandchildren, but she is so unready to face that she decided that it must be because she thinks having a gender reveal for a lizard is just silly. I think the main reason she keeps it up in the comments is because she can't face her own feelings. So even being told what she's doing by strangers does not ring true to her. She can't match up what she's being told that she's doing with what she thinks she's doing, because she's mentally walled off all of the motives behind her own actions. Jasmadoodle says, a side note, I thought for a very long time that everyone has feelings, quote unquote, and just ultimately has to decide either to be gay or straight, and I chose to be straight. I was about 20 when I found out, nah, I'm just bisexual. There's probably a whole mountain of stuff that OP needs to work through. And Leprechaun says, I once hosted a carpet warming party. It's like a housewarming party, but instead of getting a new house, I got 2 new carpets. Thank you, Leprechaun. Very cool. It was just a silly joke excuse to have a party. Nobody complained, and we all had a good time. I would definitely attend a gender reveal for a lizard. Also, I feel really sorry for the daughter who literally spells out that it is a joke and that actually she misses OP and wants to see them more. Only for OP to go, yeah, I get that you miss me and want to see me, but no. Well, what can you do? Some people just are not great people, I guess. I don't know what to say about her. I don't like her. I thought these comments would be better than angry, emotional mess is gonna slip out of my mouth from my brain. Because I'm not thinking straight. She got me all kinds of messed up. I hope that OP's daughter gets the help that she needs and is able to process whatever OP put her through, because she does not deserve to be treated as OP was treating her. And I hope that OP goes and gets some help and does some self-reflection one day before she does irreparable damage to the relationship that she has with her daughter. Still, you're the asshole. Our next post is by user Wedding Whoopsie, and it's titled, "Did I really break wedding etiquette?" About a year ago, my 41 female, sister 33 female, sent out her save the dates. She was getting married less than a week before my son's 18th birthday. Since my family is all over the country, my son has never had a big birthday celebration. My sister was planning a post-wedding brunch the day after the ceremony/reception, and I asked if she would be okay if we could do something for my son in the afternoon, since my family will already be gathered for her wedding. She loved the idea, and I ran it by my son, and reminded him that he can do something with his friends on his actual birthday. Both were happy with the idea. I even chose a venue away from the hotel that we'd all be staying at, so my sister wouldn't feel that we were encroaching on her wedding. All good so far. No problems. 6 months ago, the invitations came, and I RSVP'd for me and my son. Ex-husband is not in the picture. Meal options were a beef dish or a fish dish. I RSVP'd for 2 beef dinners. Now on to the problem, and where I'm being told that I'm in the wrong. At the reception yesterday, my almost 18-year-old son was given a child's meal, chicken nuggets and steak fries. I told the server that there was a mistake, and we RSVP'd for the beef dish. The server took the plate and brought out a beef dinner 2 minutes later. For clarification, this wasn't a child-free wedding, and there were about 5 kids there, aged 4 to 9 or so. At the brunch today, my sister pretty much ignored me and was really cold when she did talk to me. As it was ending, I asked if she was still coming to my son's celebration, since she seemed like she was mad at me. She pulled out a piece of paper and said, "Maybe I'll come once you pay this." The paper was an invoice that she made up for $77.50 for an extra dinner. I was confused and asked her what it was about, and apparently my nearly 18-year-old son was supposed to get a child's meal, and the caterer was charging my sister an additional $77.50, and that it was my fault they had to provide an additional meal. I told her that 1, I had RSVP'd and chosen the adult meal for him months ago, and 2, he's a 17-year-old. How would anyone think a meal of 4 chicken nuggets and a handful of fries would be enough for him? It became this big blow-up, and my sister turned it into people having to take sides. And surprise, my son's birthday party ended up being a disaster that almost no one attended because your sister is the bride and she makes the rules on her day. Even our mum skipped it because my sister was inconsolable. Everyone is telling me that he should have just sucked it up and I could have taken him to McDonald's afterwards. I still think I'm being perfectly reasonable. Am I really this wrong about wedding etiquette? In the comments, Partially Stars 3 says, "No, you didn't break etiquette. Your sister is insane. You RSVP'd for beef, he should have gotten beef. No one over the age of 11 eats kids' meals." OP says, "Thank you. I feel like once a child is a teenager, they graduate to the adult table/meal." Global Fact says, "I'm sorry, I agree with you, but here is what's odd to me. Someone had to have given the caterer a count of how many adult meals and how many children's meals. Nobody in their right mind would tell a caterer a child's meal for a 17-year-old. My son was man-sized at almost 18, and I'm sure yours is as well. Now, on your behalf, I would have done the exact same thing. I would have immediately assumed the kitchen had simply made a mistake. Something's rotten in Denmark here because someone had to have counted your son as a child, which is bizarre. I won't even go into the caterer charging that much for a plate. Just ridiculous. Secondly, it was your sister's choice to get all worked up and mad at her own wedding. This is something that could have been easily addressed at a later time. I can't see where you did anything wrong, but the takeaway from this is somebody turned in one adult and one child onto the caterer. No offense, your sister sounds like a piece of work. OP replies, exactly. The RSVP didn't go directly to the caterer, so at some point, my sister decided to give my son a kids' meal. And if this was such an issue, why didn't she immediately address it with me? Dolphin Darko says, I would love to know what bride's actual attendance was. Did everyone actually show up and they were sure to beef plate? I find that very hard to believe. Please forward these responses to your family. They are absolutely crazy to take her side. OP says, the reception was about 180 people. I do know at least 4 didn't show up, since my mum complained about it to me. My sister's co-worker's family got COVID. I wonder if they'll get invoices too. Look, I know we usually take a hard line on weddings, like it's your day, you make the rules, and that's an absolute gospel. But this has got to be an exception, surely. This is ridiculous. Everything was communicated properly via OP. OP did everything right here in this instance. It's not like they went behind the bride's back and was malicious. Why did the bride not just openly communicate to OP and say, hey, we're trying to save some money here. Your son is going to get a kid's meal. Can you make sure that he eats a bit of extra beforehand or has some food afterwards? Sorry, just have a bit of a budget here. We're running low on funds. That way OP could have been like, okay, absolutely, I understand. Thank you for clearing this up. The bride is manipulating the situation and everyone else around it to think that OP did some crazy crime, that she's a malicious witch that is out to get everyone else and out to get the bride's money. Give me all that money. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Like, hell nah. Absolutely not. I don't see what OP did wrong. I think, the bride is being insane. She is divorced from reality. And now, on to the update. I posted a few days ago, and I'm not sure if this sub allows for or welcomes updates, but here it is. It's not good. My post was about my sister ordering a children's meal for my 17-year-old son at her reception and throwing a fit the next day and invoicing me to pay for his extra adult meal that he wasn't supposed to get. Thank you all for confirming that it was correct that my son should have been given the adult meal that we RSVP'd with. I found out that it was all planned. Of course it was. After my sister agreed for my son to have his milestone 18th birthday celebrated the day after the wedding, since all family would already be there for the wedding, she decided that she didn't want to share her weekend anymore. Yes, she got Friday for the rehearsal and rehearsal dinner, Saturday for the ceremony and reception, and apparently needed all of Sunday too. Would the reasonable thing be to tell me that she was no longer comfortable with my son's party? Yes, and I would have cancelled and postponed it. Would the reasonable thing be to manufacture some petty beef and turn everyone against me and my son, resulting in almost no one showing up? Apparently yes to my sister and mother. Because that makeshift invoice, I had another look at it after I posted it. Printed on an inkjet printer that slightly bleeds red even on black and white. Just like my mother's old, faulty printer, which means that she printed it before the wedding. It was actually my son that noticed and mentioned that it looked like it came from my mum's crappy printer. I mean, did my sister really spend her wedding night creating an invoice? Of course it was already prepared. This was all planned. I called my mum and confronted her yesterday, and she just said, "It was your sister's wedding. All the attention should have been on her anyway. Her wedding was on Saturday. She doesn't own Sunday. So they humiliated my son so she can play princess for an extra day." Honestly, things have been bad in the past, but for the past 5 years, I thought I was really making progress with my mum. But I'm questioning her role in my life now more than ever. Even worse, my son no longer wants anything to do with the both of them. And maybe that's for the best. In the comments, Circus Sloth 3 says, "This is absolutely wild. I guess I can see wanting all the attention on the couple the day of, But the fact that she saw celebrating her nephew the day after her wedding with all her family around as a burden, taking attention away from her own pretty princess special weekend, instead of being overjoyed to share a fun, happy milestone with him, is so gross. OP replies, "That's the thing that bothers me. At any point, she could have said, 'I thought about it some more, and I really want the attention of the weekend to be on me.' I would have been annoyed, but I would have cancelled the birthday party. But not to say anything and cause this blow-up is really out of this world." OK Cryptographer replies, "Can I see being slightly annoyed at a nephew's birthday party the day after the wedding? Maybe. But I'm absolutely dying that she had him served a kid's portion like he isn't eating more than most adults at almost 18. OP says, "I totally get it. When I first approached her about it, it was only because it's a milestone birthday and my extended family is spread throughout the country, so it meant everyone who came to the wedding could also celebrate my son's birthday. I even booked an entirely different venue so she wouldn't feel encroached on. If she, or even my son, wasn't okay with it, I wouldn't have pressed the issue at all. I legitimately thought that she was happy with extending the festivities." Callus says, "Speaking of invoices, if I was OP, I would be sending my mum and sister an invoice for my venue booking that they ruined with their passive-aggressive shenanigans." This son received a valuable gift for his 18th birthday, learning that his aunt and his grandmother are total assholes. This knowledge will help protect him in the future and keep him on his guard. Yavanna12 says, "It was my mum refusing to show up for my daughter's 18th birthday party because she mistakenly thought her sister, my aunt, would be there that finally pushed me to no contact. My aunt was out of town and just sent a card. But my mum convinced herself that her sister and I are conspiring against her for some reason. I only talk to my aunt a couple of times a year." I'm curious what the major slight that your aunt did to your mum. I'm assuming it's something really minor, stupid, and has decided to die on that molehill. Some people are just stupid. It is what it is. And Pepper Phoenix says, "I hate when people give you a yes that's actually a no and then get mad that you didn't miraculously intuit that you have somehow slipped into opposite land by mistake. Just say what you mean. You are effing adults. FFS." Look, maybe it's time to reevaluate your relationship with your mother and with your sister, OP, because that sounds like too much effort to deal with people like that. I would start going very low contact with them because that's some bullshit. It was all planned just to mess with you so that she could have Sunday. And for what? What's the point? They could have had Sunday celebrating the birthday party as well, the 18th. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with sharing? No, I've got to have everything, even though I said yes to you beforehand and I said it was all good. It's actually more fun when I plot and scheme against you and gaslight you. That is gaslighting, saying that OP was evil and what she did was wrong, and that, oh, how dare you ruin my weekend, I'm going to turn everyone against you. That's got to be gaslighting, guys. Am I gaslighting myself? Who knows? But I'm upset on OP's behalf. OP deserved better. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you for the story, OP. My 8-year-old son hates me, and I don't understand why. I used to believe that your relationship with your children was a given. To clarify, I believe that as long as you treated your children with love, they were guaranteed to love you back, and that the most you had to worry about if you did the right things was some kind of terrible illness or accident that ended them early. I'm here today to warn you that that's not true. There are worse possible outcomes. My son is 8 years old, and I cannot be in the same room as him without being attacked. He will scratch, hit, and bite me constantly until we are separated. He bites as hard as he can. My arms are 50% bruises right now from partially healed wounds. I've done nothing to deserve this, and I've tried everything to reach him. I've tried love, discipline, ignoring him, reasoning. Nothing sticks, and as the years have gone on, it's only gotten worse. He's already in therapy. We've already tried to get him diagnosed with something. We've tried meds. We've tried no meds. We don't know what's going on, nor does his therapist or doctors. Last night, I finally gave up. I cried for hours and let go of any expectation that I had of having a loving relationship with him. He's 8 years old and hates my guts. There are worse outcomes than outliving your children. Please don't take your loved ones for granted. In the comments, Colo1 asks, how's the relationship between your son and his mother? And OP says, mostly normal, except the added strain of how he treats me. We have a healthy, loving marriage and a daughter as well. Everything outside my son is as you'd expect. Scooby1 Kenobi replies, any other male around who could have hurt your son? Has this been going on, or did the behavior have a definite beginning? Editing because of another post on demand avoidance? Everyone should know that this exists. I just found out, and it's fascinating. Top Ad says, I've read something similar before. Is it possible that on some level, your son either sees you as a threat to his relationship with his mother, or is jealous of your relationship with her, and is therefore attacking you to get you to step away? I remember reading about a young boy who was feral to his father because he felt some need to protect his mother and couldn't stand that anyone else would love her. He was violent towards his siblings too. I really wish I could remember where I read it. OP replies, this is a possible theory, just one of many. We have no particular reason to believe this over any other theory. Sunbear asks, or what does he say when asked? OP says, usually absolutely nothing. If he gives a reason, it's, I hate his face. Kinda funny if I disassociate. Taz replies, keep in mind that kids sometimes can misunderstand and get triggered by the weirdest stuff. For example, as a child and teen, I hid that I was reading books, would not talk about books, and overall pretend that I'm not interested with my mum. Why? 8-year-old me was reading The Hobbit. One day, I overheard my mum having a fight with her bestie. Her bestie wanted to go to a Lord of the Rings fan convention of sorts and leave her kids, 8 and 10, alone at home for the weekend. What I understood was that my mum hated Tolkien. So I hid that I was reading The Hobbit and later Lord of the Rings in fear my allegedly Tolkien-hating mum would take the books away from me. And by the time I finished, the habit already set in. While my case is silly and yours heartbreaking, you should carefully examine the circumstances. When it started, what happened around that time? Get different professionals and relatives to talk to your son, etc. And OP replies, thanks. Yeah, we're racking our brains trying to understand this. Nothing makes much sense yet. Crap Teal asks, have you recorded this behavior to show to a child behaviorist? It might even show existing doctors involved in his treatment plan that you aren't exaggerating this. And OP says, we should do that. Good idea. But I feel like our doctors and therapists believe us, so I haven't felt the need to prove it. Or there might be small body language indicators that you might be missing. Recording seems like a good idea to get a neutral viewpoint. And OP says, good idea. I don't know anything about child psychology and why kids would do something like this, but that person's explanation with The Hobbit and putting 2 and 2 together in a stupid kind of twisted logic makes a lot of sense if you think of it from like an 8-year-old's perspective. If this happens, then obviously it means that. Mum's having a fight with her friend over Tolkien. Well, it's obvious that Mum just hates Tolkien. So, in my own head, that's a very basic way of approaching this situation and thinking, hey, that's probably why OP's son hates them. But who knows? OP probably came back from like a gaycation or something, and then they're like, well, I just hate your guts now. Sorry, that's stupid. I'm stupid. And now, on to the update. Hello. Some of you folks asked for an update when I first posted, including some who seemed to feel lost in a similar situation. I'd like to thank the insane people on my last post who told me to give up on my son. The laughs were therapeutic, and also, please never have kids of your own. Wow, these immature assholes are giving us good Redditors a bad reputation, that's all I'm saying. We took him to get evaluated again, as it was pretty clear what we were dealing with was more than just ADHD. It took us a while to find a place that we thought would do it right this time, and then it took some more time to get a slot. But today, we got the official diagnosis. He has the ADHD and a severe version of it, but he's also mildly autistic. On top of this, he has high anxiety and signs of depression. Some of you are suggesting pandas and ODD, And he does seem to have some of those symptoms, but like the autism, there are things about him that don't fit those diagnoses. There are things about him that aren't typical of autism. For instance, he loves being social. These inconsistencies and the fact he was younger and had severe ADHD, which masked the autism, made an autism diagnosis difficult at that time. So, why does he hate me? As best I understand it so far, this is what happened. When he was halfway into kindergarten is when it started. His disabilities caused him to struggle as compared to his peers, which led to feelings of inadequacy. Being 5, he didn't have the tools to handle that, so he began coming home from school and destroying the house as a way to express his feelings. We would try to reason with him patiently, but he wouldn't hear it. We tried so many other ways of helping him, but the house was getting destroyed, and the only thing that would get him to stop would be sharp, loud commands from my scary male voice. Stop that! So, that's what I would do every time he started acting up, because that's what worked. What I was doing, though, I didn't know it, was using his anxiety to scare him into behaving better. As time went on, I continued this. I became this scary figure in his life to be feared. The anxiety built until it became a complicated hate. So where are we now? He doesn't attack me on sight usually, which is an improvement, but when I come home from work, he often wants to be alone in his room now. When we go out in public, things are better, but at home, the anxiety he attaches to me is still present, though not as intense. How do I fix it? First, I stayed away. I let things chill out for a few weeks, and when he would attack me, instead of getting angry and punishing him, defending myself by shoving him off me, I remained calm and had my wife correct him instead. Then I decided I needed to talk to him about all of this. I knew that going to his room meant immediately bleeding on my part, so I would armor up in a winter coat and gloves, enter his room, and calmly fend his attacks off. It would end with me restraining him on the floor and just talking to him about his behavior and why it led to my behavior and why I never meant to be scary, but I had to be scary to stop the madness. This had a little bit of a positive effect, but it took a long time. I did this routine for weeks without much progress. He would attack me, I would restrain him, I would talk and ask him to open up, and he would be silent. Then I finally found something that clicked. I told him I loved him and always would, and I thought that he was a special and talented kid, and that I would always be proud of him. He cried in my arms and got angry and wanted me to stop, but I pushed through. So then for a couple of weeks, I kept letting him know that, and over time, his reaction to it became normalized, which is how I knew he really believed and understood it. Now we have a routine that I call daddy therapy time, and when I come in his room and say let's talk, he gets straight like a pencil on his bed, and I kinda compress him into the bed, and his head hangs off, which he likes for some reason. He's been opening up gradually and actually talking instead of just me talking. Some days are still hard. He still takes everything out on me, but that's okay. Better me than anyone else. That's my job. I still get bit and scratched, but less often now, and I think things will continue to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. For you overwhelmed parents out there, keep trying. There's hope. In the comments, TigerLady13 says, highly recommend getting your son a weighted blanket. The right weight is 10% of his weight. These help autistic folks due to the compression. It helps them sleep, soothes anxiety, and has been a saving tool of a friend. Nothing worked for him to sleep properly his whole life, and then he got a weighted blanket and slept all night for the first time in decades, maybe ever. He's unsure. He told me it's greatly relieved his anxiety and doesn't worry about many things that happen anymore. Best of continued success and joy for your family. OP says, thanks for the tip. We did get him a weighted blanket, but he doesn't like it. Key Mortgage says, it's hard being a parent to a kid with behavior issues as a teacher in special education. I love that he saw his own way of needing to improve instead of his kid. Very wholesome. And I hope his relationship with his son blossoms. I feel the same. My mum taught special ed for 35 years in a self-contained classroom, and she would have to restrain her kids sometimes. This dad is amazing for looking inward and loving his son more than his ego. Thank you for doing what you do too. It's hard, and you're never appreciated enough. But those kids need you, and you really make a difference. After reading this, now I want a weighted blanket, so that's my takeaway from this situation. Maybe my anxiety is going to be treated with a weighted blanket, who knows? But more on topic, I'm glad that things have very slowly sorted themselves out and that these two are not fighting as much anymore, or OP is not being attacked on sight as much anymore. That was an incredibly rough situation, and thank God OP was able to get through it all, because I know so many people would break in a situation like this and just leave. It's such a tough situation on everyone, and thank God something did work here to stem the bleeding. Thank you for coming to Reddit and offering us tools to deal with situations like these, OP. I'm glad that it worked for you. Thank you for the story. Our next post is by user ThrowRA Downsizing, titled, "Am I the asshole here for telling my fiancé that if he expects me to contribute 50-50, we have to make some serious lifestyle changes? My 26 female, fiancé 26 male, sat me down yesterday and gave me a long talk about how he feels like I don't contribute enough to the household, particularly in the financial sense. I was a bit caught off guard by this, but was willing to hear him out since he wasn't wrong. He makes a lot more than I do, and we've always split bills accordingly, which ends up being about 80% him. I asked what he wanted me to pay now, and he was adamant about it being 50-50. I asked if everything was okay with his job, or if he needed to take fewer hours, and he wouldn't answer me. I honestly wouldn't have gotten upset if there seemed like an actual reason behind it, but he just said he had been thinking about it a lot, over and over. Every time I asked him what brought him to this conclusion, what was going on, and eventually he just said, "This is how it's going to be. Take it or leave it." Those exact words in response to literally everything I said. Full shutdown. No explanations. I told him that was fine. I'll take it. And then I asked if he'd made a Zillow account yet or expected me to. He looked confused and asked why we would need a Zillow account. I explained that there's no way that I can afford half rent on our current place, so we will probably have to move into a one-bedroom apartment. He got mad and asked why I didn't have savings, and I told him that I do, but I'm not paying rent out of my savings because that's a terrible and unsustainable idea. I also began to go over what our new food budget would be, our new entertainment budget, and that we would probably have to sell the cars and get one less expensive one because I can't afford half of the payments on an Audi and a Land Rover. Then I explained that date nights would probably have to be reduced too, and we could still do like Buffalo Wild Wings or something, but I preferred Thursday nights because you get 2 orders of boneless wings for one. Basically, if he wants me to pay half, we're living within my means, not his anymore. He kind of agreed to it, but since then, he's been incredibly angry. He's not saying or doing anything, but it's like he's walking around the house in this cloud of pissed off. I sent him 6 Zillow listings, all of which he's called uninhabitable for various reasons, some of which I think were valid, others I disagree with. He's now saying that I'm being unfair and manipulative, and that he tried to come to me with a serious concern about our relationship, and I'm making it impossible for him to talk to me and bulldozing over him. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Centurion Holder says, "Not the asshole at all, and you're making perfect sense in my mind. If he wants 50-50, he needs to understand that your income is the limiting agent in this reaction. It does sound like he has something else going on, and I would mentally prepare for him to call the wedding off. This sounds like he's coming up with reasons to get rid of you in his mind, but he doesn't want to come off as the bad guy." Cold Trash Panda says, "I'm making up jobs and numbers here. So, hypothetically, you make $120K as an engineer, I make $30K in retail. I'm fine living a life where we spend the same amount, but I literally cannot keep up because I'd have to pull tens of thousands of dollars out of thin air. The only option to make this work is if we both live like we both make 30K. Not the arsehole. The only options to give him what he wanted was spend less or drain savings and enter credit card debt. There's a lot of ways that you can go into analyzing his reaction, like why he's reacting the way he is to this very obvious situation that he's put on OP. And if we're not going to go down this sudden mental illness route, he has a brain tumor. I know that's my favorite go-to to explain wild changes of behavior that have come out of nowhere. Let's go get him an MRI. Let's go get a CT scan. Let's see what's going on in that noggin. But seriously, how else am I supposed to read his behavior here, if not sudden craziness? It's got to be that he's trying to find a reason to break off this marriage, right? I guess another explanation could be that he's trying to financially manipulate her, trying to get her to become completely financially dependent on him by draining her savings account this way in a, false sense of quote-unquote fairness. That's another way you could go with this. But either way, if he wants to do this 50-50 arrangement, he's got to do what OP said. It's a 2 yes, 1 no kind of situation. This is ridiculous, and I don't think OP is the asshole here for doing something that makes logical sense. He's the one acting illogically. He's being a manipulative dickhead by walking around in this pissed off haze. How about we all have a sit down, we talk about what's going on, why he's feeling this way, why is he reacting like this, what's going on? We need that shot from like Inside Out. It's like, what's going on in her head? And like zooms into his brain. What are the characters saying inside there? What are his core memories? He's unlocked a new emotion, insanity. Anyway. And now, on to the update. Hi everyone. This got way bigger than intended, that's what I said, so I figured a follow-up was owed. So last time I posted was Monday. Monday as a whole was spent just sorting through what I felt and what to do next. There was a lot of silence and a lot of anger and a lot of Reddit advice. Some of which I found very insightful, some of which was less so. Color me shocked. Also, some people think that I made this up as a part of a viral marketing sponsorship between Buffalo Wild Wings, Audi, and Zillow, which honestly would solve the money problems if true, but alas is not the case. On Tuesday, after I got home from work, I sort of just walked up to him on the elliptical and explained as calmly as I could that I had questions, and if he actually wanted to marry me, he needed to be willing to answer them. I asked if he thought I was a gold digger, yes or no. He said yes. Jesus. I told him that I wasn't willing to be in a relationship where I had to prove myself by sacrificing any sort of stability, and that led to a bit of a screaming match, and eventually a confession. So it turns out, we cannot afford anything we have right now. We are in serious credit card debt. The cars are both on the verge of being repossessed, and I did not know about any of this. He's been cutting corners on actual necessities, including psychiatric medication. That, in combination with some comments from his family, led to some pretty dark places. My fiancé had a full breakdown and apologized for calling me a gold digger, which was nice to hear. But this whole thing had me pretty shaken up. I went to stay with a friend for a little bit. Yesterday, my fiancé and I did in fact go out to Buffalo Wild Wings and get the 2-for-1 boneless. We talked a lot. I'm still writing fiancé for now, and I really hope we can work through all of this. We talked about how to sell the cars. We don't particularly have a choice at this point. And about my income, his income, and the sort of life that we want to have. If we do stay together, we'll be changing how we live a lot. We need to get out of debt. We need to get on our feet. I know some people are going to say that I'm being dumb for not immediately dropping all contact and giving up on the relationship, but I can't do that. I can't look at the guy that I love, who went off his meds to try to make a good life for me, and think he's not worth sticking around for. At least to try. I don't know what the future looks like at all anymore though, and the wedding is very postponed at the moment. Sorry this wasn't a more fun update. In the comments, Yomi Kazuki says, "Watch your credit like a hawk, home slice. While I understand that you want to make it work, there's a few things of note. It's absolutely critical to know exactly how the debt got that deep. It's not at all acceptable that he's been cutting corners on psychiatric medication. He was going to point the finger at you being in the wrong until you brought up leaving. His choices have left you both in debt. How much of an effort is he willing to make to help you both claw out? You really need to take a hard look at this relationship and how your future will look in it." Okay, so then OP makes this really weird post where she lists the things that she likes about her fiancé, and it's speculated that this was a response to everyone telling her just how awful the fiancé is. So, in my mind, this is like my relationship is actually perfect, except for this one thing. So they're taking that concept and making a list out of it. So let's see what OP has to say. It's titled, "Good Things About My Fiancé." 1. Pretty as fuck. This is the most physically attractive man that I have ever met. Literal golden curls like a Da Vinci painting, crystal blue eyes, just so pretty it gives me butterflies whenever he looks at me sometimes. 2. Best I've ever had in bed. Very good at just about anything, actually likes going down on me, and makes me see stars. I've never been in a relationship that was as sexually satisfying as this one, and there's no way I'm going back after this. 3. His voice is very sexy, especially when he speaks Russian. He also speaks French, Spanish, and apparently Latin, but Russian is my favorite. 4. Got a vasectomy so I could go off birth control. He was the one to suggest it because he saw how much I hated those stupid pills, and he was willing to get an actual surgery for me. 5. Full of little surprises and adventures. He's always doing things like getting me wildflowers, making my favorite breakfast before I wake up, or even planning little day adventures for us to go on together. Life is never mundane because he's always making it special. 6. Actually does housework. Does not need to be asked to do housework. He actually does more of the cleaning than I do, and I cook most of the meals, because he thinks that sweeping and mopping floors is meditative. I do not know how I got this lucky on this one. 7. Plays guitars. Really, really well. It's very attractive. 8. Can physically pick me up and carry me around, and does this often. I'm not a small woman, to be clear. This is legitimately impressive and makes me feel so nice. 9. Reads. I can actually talk about books with him. You have no idea how rare this is, especially to find a guy who will read anything I say, "Oh, I liked this." You do not comprehend the feeling of mentioning offhandedly that you're reading Midnight Sun and having him come up to you the next day after spending all night reading so that you could talk about it together until you live it. 10. Has shown me that there is actual romance in life and that I deserve more than a flat, boring relationship devoid of orgasms or dancing in the rain or music. He brought real passion and fun and aliveness into my life, and in a world where that's treated as an unrealistic fantasy for most women, he's shown me that I deserve something unrealistic. In the comments, Alta Boris says, "He may be the first man to give you romance, passion, and fun, but he's not the only one who can. These things are great right now, but long-term stability depends on much more important factors. Financial problems are a leading cause of divorce because once the fun stage is over, you're simply faced with the crushing reality. If you do stay with him despite all advice, please keep an eye on your bank accounts, credit score, and him in general. Don't marry him until or unless something changes in a major way. Because if you take on his debts, you'll be stuck." I Am the Real Dill says, "It's a little concerning that your top 3 are physical attributes, plus number 8, and not personality traits. Looks fade, people get injured, they age and physically change. If the biggest thing you like about him are how he looks, how he does in bed, and that he can pick you up, you're not setting yourself up for success. One car accident, one work injury. Hell, even just 5 or 10 years, and half your list could be out. I'm also really curious about the vasectomy thing. You said he did it for you, But are you sure that he didn't do it for him so he won't end up with a baby on the side? All the men that I know who have had vasectomies had them after they were married and had at least one child. I don't know. This just rings alarm bells for me. And now, onto the second update. We are out of debt. It feels so good to say that and to have it be true, but as of 3 days ago, everything is finally paid off, and we've made our way back onto solid ground. Almost 2 years ago, I made a post here about my 28 female, fiancé 28 male, wanting to split things 50-50, and my offer of compromising on lifestyle changes. As it turned out, he was off his meds and had managed to get himself into some serious debt. A little under 100k, trying to provide a life that we could not afford on a combined 155k a year. Things were rough. I almost left him a few times, but we have finally made it through to the other side. I handle the finances, 100% of the finances. I give him a budget for buying coffee. It wasn't fun, but in exchange, he started doing more of the housework, so it evens out. We moved from our over-the-top apartment into a shared living situation, which, while not ideal, was leagues better than my initial plan of getting a trailer. We have roommates, but they're on another floor, so it's not too bad. And we have our own bathroom, which was my only real stipulation. We've lived like we're a 70k a year couple doing actual 50-50 finances, and every extra penny that he's made has gone directly to paying off the debt. We sold the cars, obviously. Traded them in for a nice used Ford Maverick and a Vespa. That helped a lot. There have been no more lavish vacations or over-the-top restaurants with $500 price tags. It was rough for my fiancé at first. He's always been very much a rich boy, and I think losing that as an identity was difficult for him. That being said, he's gotten so creative lately. It's been amazing to see. He'll make me things if he can't buy me things. And we've started cooking together instead of having me do almost all of it. Our room is covered in the things that he has made for me, and it's really lovely. We're still in love, we're still going strong, and we can finally start actually planning our wedding again. We're gonna get our own place first, but the wedding is next on the list after that. I'm so glad that we stuck with this, and being on the other side is the greatest feeling in the world. Thank you to everyone who offered advice. I don't know how things would have ended up if I hadn't had the courage of my convictions, and I'm genuinely grateful to those who directed me to Dave Ramsey and Caleb Hammer. Y'all are awesome. In the comments, Stigley says, "Congrats. So nice to see someone properly making changes rather than just appearing to do so. Hopefully now the debts are cleared, you can keep him on this current life for a while longer and build up a decent cushion of savings and investments." OP says, "Well, I'm still keeping a hold of the purse strings for the foreseeable future, so things should end up alright." Just Following says, "This is some advice given actually by experts, but make sure you're sitting down with your fiancé and doing the monthly budget and review with him every month. Even if you break it down and oversee it all, this will prevent resentment from him later. This is also the perfect time to talk about major upcoming purchases and status of savings and vacations, etc. It can be a great shared bonding experience. We do it, and it feels like we are on the same page at the end. We just feel like a team and aligned. A lot of people don't do this, and down the road, the one not responsible ends up feeling like they are being financially abused." Yeah, that's some good advice to end on, and despite the naysayers, I'm glad that this did work out. You don't always have to break up with someone if you're in a situation like this. It's just, when you're in situations like these, how often is that partner willing to change? And if they don't change, maybe it's time to reevaluate the situation, and that's where I see breaking it off with someone being the smart and wise thing to do. Again, I'm glad everything worked out for OP and their partner. He was willing to change. He was willing to do the hard yards with OP to see this engagement through and keep them together. I hope that OP continues to take the advice of the community here that is good and not insane, and know the difference between good and insane advice. I feel like that goes without saying, but yeah, so that he doesn't feel like he is being financially abused. It looks simple on the surface, but I'd imagine in practice it's quite complicated. Anyway, that's just my view of things. Not entirely snarky today, but it's what it is. Don't think these stories deserved snark. I purposefully ignored what my husband told me he wanted for Father's Day, and he's now ignoring me and won't accept my apologies. What can I do to make it up to him? Me and my husband have been together for the past 9 years. We have 2 kids, an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. For Mother's Day, all I wanted was a free day. I wanted my husband to take the kids out somewhere for the day so that I could be home alone and relax. Instead, he got me and the kids tickets to have a fun day out. And it was fun, and me and the kids did have a good time, but it irked me that he gave me the exact opposite of what I'd asked for. For Father's Day, my husband also wanted a free day so that he could stay home and game all day. He games all the time with his friends. He'll get home from work, maybe spend the time between then and dinner with the kids, before going up to his office to game for a few hours with friends. Instead, I got him and the kids cards for an arcade an hour away with a ton of tokens. I gave him the cards during dinner on Saturday so that he and the kids could leave early and spend all day playing with them. I got my free day, and he and the kids got to make a lot of memories together. He and I got into a fight when the kids went to bed. He was angry that I ignored what he wanted for Father's Day. I was angry that he didn't see that he had done the same thing to me on Mother's Day. He's been ignoring me since and won't accept my apologies. Edit. Some people are thinking that me, my husband, and our kids went out for Mother's Day. We didn't. I took the kids out for the day while he played video games all day with his friends. Edit. I can't believe that I have to say this. I do not hate, resent, or in any other way dislike my children. My point was not that going on a day out with them is terrible and I hate it. My point was that it really sucks asking for one thing and being given the opposite. In the comments, Hobaloeb says, "That's hilarious. I wouldn't apologize at all. Tell him to come talk to you when he's done being a piss baby." And OP says, "I really don't feel sorry, and I feel like I was justified. I just want him to stop ignoring me." Bad Acid says, "There is no way that he didn't know what he was doing when he set up a day with you and the kids on Mother's Day without him around. Or I guess maybe he's legitimately insane. I feel crazy reading these comments accusing you of resenting your kids or being a bad wife for getting petty. Like, yeah, it was petty. People get petty when they're mistreated and taken advantage of. And now he's lying to you and saying that it's not the same and not what he was trying to do? Please. Any husband with half a brain knows that Mother's Day is a holiday that the father/husband participates in actively. Not just planning or buying, but is present with you, with the kids, trying to give you time off. It's what he wanted for Father's Day. He knew that it's what you wanted for Mother's Day. Yeah, it was petty. I would be petty too, if my partner got me an obligation and got themselves a day of rest. You two need to talk it out, but he needs to own up to what he did. OP says, "I don't understand how people think that I resent my own kids. On both days, the kids had so much fun. When they came back from the arcade, they wouldn't stop telling me how much fun they had and showing me the prizes they had helped win. When we had our fight, it was after they were in bed. They've picked up on him ignoring me, but I've not told them why. Just that he's busy with work and is cranky because of it." Some of the people responding to this are teenagers. There is no age limit. I'm not surprised you're getting dumb responses like accusations of hating your kids. OP says, "There are many accusations of me hating my kids, and calling me selfish for wanting to have a day to myself instead of spending it with my kids, as if I have an infinite amount of energy and time in the day to cook, clean, take care of the kids, and have time for myself when I don't." The part that got me was the very end, when OP saying, "He's been ignoring me since and won't accept my apologies." I understand that there's a lot of give and take in marriages and in relationships, and that when it's elevated to this height, which feels like, for most, the pinnacle of your bond with another person. You have a house, you have kids, you've been married, you've been together for quite a while. It is natural to apologize in situations like this, when I myself don't think you have anything to apologize for. You have to compromise, find agreements and middle grounds on things that you maybe internally don't want to find an agreement or middle ground for, but you have to do it for your family. I understand that. But I don't see him holding up his end of the contract. All I see is him being lazy, greedy, and spiteful. And genuinely, even with the added context of their marriage, kids, household, all of that, she has nothing to apologize for. And I don't know why she was apologizing to him. He doesn't deserve it. He's actively ignoring you. He is being childish and pathetic. He is actively sinking this marriage, and if it fails, it will be his fault. This is not how you treat your partner. There is something wrong with him. He is a dick-headed asshole. Insane that he starts a fight with you when you have been the one keeping the peace, all because he can't handle his own medicine. It was more than okay for you to be petty in this instance. It's not okay for him to continue being hypocritical in the way that he is. Something has to change. And now, on to the update. People keep asking me for an update, so here you go. We're in the process of getting a divorce. Now please stop asking for an update. In the comments, Corfizz74 says, "Thank you for updating us, and I'm sorry that you have to go through this. Did he ever see reason about the mothers equal Father's Day gift? Or did he remain willfully obtuse to the end?" OP replies, "He hasn't, and still says that when he did it to me was different to when I did the same thing to him." Leoka says, "I'm sorry. I hope you're able to heal and find someone you won't have to have an eye for an eye in order to get them to understand what you need." OP says, "I'm just hoping to find someone with basic empathy. I did all of that, and he still doesn't understand why I was upset with my gift. At least now you can relax when he has the kiddos." OP says, "I'll relax when they're at my parents' house, since he doesn't want custody of them." What a stand-up individual. What a cool guy. One Welcome says, "I would eat my own tongue before I apologize to him. You make nothing up to him. Did he make Mother's Day up to you? Please. These are all grown-ass men who manage their lives in every other aspect. This is just laziness." And OP says, "No, he never apologized for Mother's Day. Throw the whole husband away. My ex forgot Christmas, Mother's Days, birthdays, and he actually said that he was planning it. It doesn't get better. It only gets worse. I promise you there's freedom on the other side." And OP says, "That's the plan." When asked why they don't get marriage counseling, OP says, "He refused to go many times until he told me that he wanted a divorce, and all of a sudden it was, whoa, we don't have to go that far. What happened until death do us part? Why don't we go talk to someone? For the kids." That ship sailed long ago. And on to the latest update, posted 7 months after the first update and 1 year after the original post, titled, "Mother's Day is infinitely better now that I'm single than it was when I was married. I didn't wake up to a messy kitchen that I was expected to clean after eating a subpar breakfast. I didn't have to fight with anyone over what gift I was given. I didn't have to cook dinner after an exhausting day where I got no help or thanks from my ex. I didn't have to do anything else that I came to expect with Mother's Day. I didn't feel the stress that I've felt every other Mother's Day. I got to have a lazy morning in bed with my kids. We made pancakes for brunch. They gave me cards that they had made in school, and we watched movies on the couch all day and ordered pizza for dinner, and it was wonderful." In the comments, Lower Stick says, "The last update was perfection. I will always remember the first Christmas after my parents divorced. My father was always in a bad mood on Christmas Day, with one exception in the 12 Christmases that I remember with him. The first Christmas after divorce, my baby sister didn't start the day crying because of all the tension in the air. No presents were thrown at us. We spent the whole day in jammies and didn't have to dress up for dinner. It was bliss." This is a great example for why parents may be better off divorced for their children, if not for themselves too. My unhappy parents stayed together, and me and my siblings wished that they would just get divorced. Kids are not idiots. They can sense the tension and unhappiness. Jezebel103 says, I bet that's another man who was blindsided when his wife finally had enough. Good for you to choose your own happiness and well-being. I wish that more people realized that a relationship is like a bank account. If only one person is putting money in the bank and the other one is only withdrawing from the account, in the end, you'll end up overdrawn. I'm also fully expecting him to be a sudden opponent of no-fault divorce for breaking up marriages. That's been on the rise lately, especially with his "what happened to until death do us part." I'm fully expecting this guy to ride the manosphere and to be all the more miserable for it. And as I said, if the divorce is coming, it will be all on him, because it is, and it was. I don't understand how people can get so comfortable to be such an asshole like he is. Some people just become so comfortable and stale in their relationships that they start taking it for granted, and then the only time they see the error of their ways is when their partner is on the way out. Oh, what do you mean till death do us part? Buddy, you suck. He deserved to get divorced. He refused to apologize. Why is the apologizing only on the wronged party? Why do you get to do so much damage, and OP has to apologize for the damage that you do every time, and you refuse to see where she is coming from, and you refuse to give your own apology because I don't have to give that. I didn't do anything wrong. You did me wrong when you gave me a taste of my own medicine. I applaud you, OP, for sticking in there so long, but really there comes a breaking point and there comes a time where divorce is the best option and you do have to do it. But I'm sure there'll be someone that is like, oh, you don't understand relationships. You always say divorce. Okay, if you have that opinion, when you see someone that's going through a marriage like OP's, I want you to take that opinion and bring it to the person in OP's shoes and tell them, oh man, you just don't understand dating enough. You know, don't take divorce so lightly. You should stick it out in that relationship. It's so easy to type that on the internet into the comments without any repercussions. I want those who have that opinion to go tell people like OP to do that to their face and see what reaction they get. Please, God, do it, because I'm so sick of people saying it in the comments. Our next post is by user SadDig901, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for telling my mother-in-law that her generous offer was actually a manipulative way to control my life? Okay, so I, female 30, am engaged to my fiancé Mark, male 31. We're getting married in 6 months. Mark's family, especially his mother, I'll be calling her mother-in-law, are a lot. They're quite wealthy and traditional, and frankly, mother-in-law has a habit of trying to micromanage everything in Mark's life, and by extension, now mine. The big drama started around the wedding venue. Mark and I found this beautiful, slightly unconventional place that we both absolutely loved. It's an old, restored theater downtown. Exposed brick, a bit quirky, totally us. It's also pricey, but within our budget, if we make some compromises elsewhere. We were so excited. We told mother-in-law and father-in-law. Father-in-law was reserved, but seemed okay. But mother-in-law? She visibly recoiled. Her dream, apparently, was for us to get married at the same exclusive country club that she got married at, where all their friends have weddings. She started immediately listing all of the problems with the theater venue. Parking will be a nightmare. It's not sophisticated enough. What about the acoustics for the string quartet that I was planning? We weren't planning a string quartet, by the way. Then came the offer. Mother-in-law sat us down and said, very formally, that while she and father-in-law were disappointed we weren't considering the country club, they understood that it was our day. But because the theater venue was so much more expensive than what they had budgeted for, which we never asked them to budget for, we had our own budget, They would graciously offer us a substantial sum of money, enough to cover about 40% of the theatre venue cost. It sounded generous, right? Mark thought so. I was immediately wary. Mother-in-law's gifts always come with strings. I thanked them, but said that we had our budget covered and would be fine. Mother-in-law got this tight, almost angry look. She said, "Nonsense, darling. A wedding should be a celebration, not a financial stressor. We want to do this for you." She kept pushing. Father-in-law added that it was a genuine wedding gift, no strings attached. Mark was beaming, thanking his parents profusely, saying how amazing they were. I felt cornered. Eventually, I caved and accepted, still feeling uneasy. Later that week, mother-in-law started sending me links to florists near the country club, links to bakers who only deliver to the country club. She started asking about decor choices that would only make sense at the country club. When I gently reminded her that we were having the wedding at the theatre, she would get flustered and say things like, "Oh, right. Well, this florist might make an exception." Or, "It's just so much easier with vendors who know the traditional venues." The final straw came last night. We were at their house for dinner. Mother-in-law brought up the venue again. She said, "Now, about the ceremony flow at the theatre. I was thinking it might be easier to have the reception at the country club after. Just the reception, you know, for dancing and easier bar service." I snapped. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Mother-in-law, with all due respect, this stops now. We chose the theatre. We love the theatre. Your generous offer wasn't about helping us. It was about buying control over our wedding to force it into being your dream wedding at your preferred venue. You didn't give us that money to help us have our day. You gave it to try and manipulate us into having your day." The table went silent. Father-in-law looked horrified. Mark looked utterly stunned and then furious. Mother-in-law's face crumbled. She started crying, saying how could I be so cruel, that they were only trying to help, that I was ungrateful. Mark jumped up, yelling that I had massively overstepped, insulted his parents, and ruined the evening. He said that I was being paranoid and that their offer was genuine and I was just being difficult and unappreciative. We left immediately. Mark is barely speaking to me, saying I owe his mother a huge apology and that if I can't be respectful to his family, maybe we need to rethink things. Mother-in-law is apparently distraught. Part of me feels justified because I truly believe her gift was manipulative and a way to leverage control. But another part of me is reeling from the fallout. Did I handle it badly? Should I have just accepted the money and ignored the suggestions? Was I too harsh? Am I the asshole for calling out my mother-in-law's offer as manipulative control instead of just accepting it quietly? In the comments, your fiancé is an idiot, but he's been manipulated by his parents his entire life, so he cannot see the forest for the trees. You did right by sticking up for yourself against her passive-aggressive behavior. Just know that it will never end. Consider that if you continue with the relationship and wedding. And OP says, "Thank you for telling me what I needed to hear." Info. Are you sure the venue that you chose is what your fiancé wants? He might be using his mother to make his point if he's turned his anger on you here. OP says, he has never suggested otherwise and has been enthusiastic talking about the venue that I chose. There's just some people, I guess, that are so actively avoidant of confrontation that they will go along with things for what I would say is an incredibly inappropriate amount of time, as I would guess is the case here. He is venting his frustration through his mother-in-law, and that is why he is defending her. That's an assumption, yes, and I know assumptions make an ass out of you and me, but when have I ever been right? I'm kidding. At this point, I'd be questioning whether the wedding is even going to happen, because why is he not supporting you? Why is he going along with them? Why can he not see the forest through the trees? Or does he see the forest through the trees, but thinks that, he's comfortable where he is, and he'd rather be on his parents' side than your side? And if that's the case, why is he marrying you? Why was there not more discussion with him before this, where he was completely transparent about his feelings about the entire situation? Why did they only have to come out when you were left alone to confront his mother, who is controlling the situation and is being inappropriate? This all just gives me a terrible feeling deep down, and I don't feel like this wedding is long for this world. I don't see it happening under these circumstances. And now, on to the update. It's only been 2 days since that dinner, but it feels like everything has unraveled. Mark and I barely spoke after we left his parents' house. I tried to explain where I was coming from again, calmly this time, but he shut it down. He said that I embarrassed him and hurt his mother. He kept repeating that I was being dramatic and ungrateful. It felt like I was talking to a stranger. Then yesterday, I found out something that broke me. A friend of mine saw Mark having lunch with another woman. At first, I told myself that it was probably innocent, and I wish it had been. But when I confronted him, he admitted it. He has been seeing someone else. It started a few weeks ago. And the worst part? It was someone his mother introduced him to. Someone from her country club circle. She kept telling him this girl came from a better family and was more compatible with the kind of life that they had planned for him. He said it wasn't serious, that he was confused, that I had been so angry all the time and he felt pushed away. I could not believe what I was hearing. I asked him if he ever truly wanted to marry me or if I was just the easy choice until his mother pushed him to upgrade. He did not answer. So I ended it. I packed a bag and left. We had not sent out invitations yet. The venue can still be cancelled, mostly refunded. What hurts most is not losing the wedding, it's realizing that I was trying to fight for someone who would not fight for me, who let his mother control him to the point that he let her hand him a replacement. I am heartbroken, angry, numb, but somewhere deep down, I also feel relieved. I would rather walk away now than stay and become someone small enough to fit inside their picture-perfect frame. Thank you to everyone who commented before. You helped me see that I was not imagining things, that I was not crazy for wanting to protect the life that I was trying to build. In the comments, you didn't lose a partner. You lost a puppet and his puppeteer. I'm proud of you for choosing peace over performance. Best wishes, OP. And OP says, thanks for this. I appreciate your words. Beach Polini says, real audacious of him to get all snippy with her about hurting his mother when he was already actively cheating on her. Well, I hope he enjoys his boring country club bullshit. I know someone's gonna love OP the way that she deserves. A vintage theater wedding sounds like an absolute dream. I was so confused by the acoustics question. Theaters are designed to have excellent acoustics for live music. If you want good acoustics, by all means get married in a theater and not a damn country club. Yeah, like, what even was that argument? Oh, honey, the theater is not going to have as good acoustics as our country club is. I'm sorry. Have you got a brain tumor, lady? Where did you come up with that idea? Sorry, football team. Actually, this premier football stadium that you plan to have a game in is not up to scratch. Come out to the old dusty field out back. That is perfect for you guys to have a lovely game of football on. Do not look at that perfect stadium. It is not good for you. I'm glad that she's out. I'm surprised that he is coping so hard, saying, actually, yeah, I was having lunch with that woman, but it's nothing serious. Yeah, my mum is setting me up with someone from her country club, but it's actually not serious, and you shouldn't be worried about it. They should rename that place the Lobotomy Club, because that sounds more like what is going on over there, for these guys to be justifying their actions in this way. OP is right to be rid of them, and should count her lucky stars that she did not get shacked up and locked down with this, I don't know, gaggle of assholes? Gaggle of lobotomized assholes. The largesse of these gaggle of lobotomized assholes knows no bounds. Thank you for the story, OP, not the asshole. Our next post is by user SlightKing3996, and it's titled, I, 17 male, might not be my dad's son, and my older brother, 20 male, and my parents are making my life hell. My dad and I never had a close relationship growing up, him always preferring my older brother, Junior, 20 male. Junior always had preferential treatment compared to the two of us, always the golden child, and always could do no wrong. I was always the scapegoat, always mistreated, always forgotten between the two. Our grandfather started and ran a very successful business in the area, and before he died, left it and a substantial amount of money in a trust to be inherited by all legitimate grandchildren. Grandfather didn't like our mother much, which I will get into. Our dad has a job in the business, but no real power or authority in it. Just job security at the company. Well, last weekend, my dad was digging through some old boxes and found my mum's old diaries, and it turns out that she had an affair over 20 years ago that ended just under 10 years ago when the affair partner died in a car crash. After much arguing and turmoil, my parents agreed to stay together, but only if me and Junior took DNA tests, and depending on the results, they kick the bastard out. Since the agreement, we've been to the labs. My dad's gone to a lawyer to draft papers, whatever that means, and my brother's harassment has been worse than ever, entering my room with a, "Hey there, bastard." I've asked my mum to stand up for me, but she refused, and just says that I need to be strong, and that's it. We should be getting the test results back in tomorrow, and my best friend's dad has agreed to take me in. I can't take it. What should I do? In the comments, no matter the results, you should go live with your best friend's dad, as your home life is so awful and toxic. I'm sorry that you're being put through this. Are you still in high school? Go talk to your school counselor immediately. Move out. Even if it comes back with your legal father, he's making it clear that you are unwanted. Don't do anything that would force you out of the company. That's why your brother is being a total ass. He wants to get the money, and if you go total no contact, he might be able to rob you. If you are your legal parent's child, contact the lawyers of your grandfather to see what you can get to pay for school. The best revenge is to live a great life without them in it. I know it sucks. Get some professional help with dealing with this. The emotional trauma of this will linger for decades. Also, please do not, for any reason, sign any document given to you without discussing it with a professional unrelated to your family. You should also make sure to keep notes about what is going on. If your quote-unquote father is drafting papers and the point is to disinherit you from your grandfather's estate, he should not be able to sign those papers on your behalf because he is conflicted. Self-dealing, which in the legal world is a breach of fiduciary duties and challengeable in the court. It's interesting in all of this that they don't even consider the fact that it might not be you that is the bastard in all of this. It could be your older brother. And what are they going to do in that instance? Like, have we not considered that possibility? This was an incredibly long affair that they had going on. It's entirely possible that he or the both of you are bastard children in the way that they're describing. So are you then both getting cut off from the estate? Like, what's going on? And your mum not doing anything about this and just saying that you need to be strong is such a cop-out. I'd be doing exactly what the comments are suggesting, getting what you are owed if you are the biological descendant of the grandfather, and then probably just cutting them off. And if you don't cut them off, I would definitely be going very low contact and putting distance between myself and this shit show of a family of yours. Hell nah. And now onto the update 3 years later, titled, Am I the asshole here for forcing my parents to keep disowning my half-brother? My parents never got along with me. They clearly favored my half-brother Junior, 23 male. My dad was especially harsh since he wasn't what I considered an ideal son. My grandparents started a fairly successful small HVAC business in our area, and my father has a job there, but no real power. With the actual business ownership belonging to a trust, because my grandfather didn't trust my father with financial decisions. 3 years ago, my dad found some old diaries that my mum had, and in them, she detailed an affair that went on until the affair partner died 12 years ago in a car wreck. They argued for days, precisely because the trust that owns the business will be going to only biological grandchildren. My grandfather hated my mum and suspected her of fooling around. My parents agreed to reconcile if Junior and I took DNA tests. Both Junior and my dad were sure that I would not be biologically related, and they would get to kick the bastard out. Well, 3 years ago we went to the lab, went to a lawyer's office, and the tests came in. I was my father's son, Junior was not. What's more is the house that we live in was also going to only go to the biological grandchildren, and my birthday was coming up. My father was subdued on the drive home, but Junior was still mouthy. My father, to his credit, tried to mend fences that night. He looked awful. He cried, he begged for forgiveness. He asked what he could do to start making things up. I said, kick the bastard out. My parents begged, pleaded for me to try anything but that. Set up family counseling to get us fixed. I wouldn't budge. I pointed out that they were fully ready to kick me out that night if I wasn't my father's son. My father kicked Junior out that night, but he was doing it full of tears. I must confess, my relationship with my parents did not get better. My father acts like a broken man, and my mother is just silent. Honestly, they should have divorced long ago, but they don't argue anymore. I started working at the family business, going to college on the side. My parents are outright timid around me now. My father would try to spend time with me, but I brush him off. Lately, they would both ask if I was willing to have the three of us contact Junior and have all of us mend fences. I keep refusing and ask, if it was me, would you even be asking? My mentor at my grandfather's business knows the situation and has asked me if I'm doing this because I want to hurt them or if I want to avoid being hurt. In the comments, not the asshole. This goofy family has dropped more crap on you from their inability to have healthy relationships than you should ever have to deal with. Not the asshole, but I think you're going about it the wrong way. There should be no credit to your father. The only reason he tried to rebuild a relationship with you right away is because he found out that you are their meal ticket. I can't even imagine the heartache that you must have grown up with. What that car ride to the clinic before you knew the truth must have been like. The fear of thinking that you were about to be kicked out of the only family that you have known. My advice to you is to get therapy. Accept that your birth family is never going to be what you want them to be. You already grew up and they already messed up your childhood. Figure out what you want from your life and pursue that. Remember, you owe them nothing. The business and the house belong to your grandparents and now you. Put yourself first, since they never bother to do that for you. They would have 100% thrown him to the curb if he wasn't his dad's son. I wouldn't want a relationship with my mum or dad after my treatment and mum's silence. I hope OP thrives in the company and exceeds his sperm donor. I wonder if the parents have any contact with Junior. I guarantee you they never stopped being in contact and are subsidizing his living arrangements. He is the favorite after all. I wonder who the grandfather thought the bio-grandkid was, or if his will was just pure spite for the mother. Maybe just wording out of spite without any thought that there may be illegitimate children. Whatever the case, I still stick by my words from before. I don't think this changes the situation much. OP has to leave that house eventually, and if and when that day comes, Junior's going to be right back where he started, because this was never about the Iranian yogurt, as the kids say. This was about their hatred for OP, and it's just unfortunate that Junior was caught in the crossfire. I don't think it's healthy for OP to stay in that household, to stay with his parents like that. Just go live your life away from them. Let them all be sad and miserable together. I don't know what you have to gain from all of that. You're not the asshole still, OP, but you're going to be tormenting yourself the longer you stay there, I feel like. Thank you for the story. I told my girlfriend that she's not a trophy wife or status symbol and that we are similar in attractiveness. She views it as me calling her old and ugly. A bit of background. My girlfriend and I are 30 and 31 respectively. We've been dating for about a year. I work as a high-level engineer at a good firm, and my girlfriend works as a payroll specialist at a good firm too. I make significantly more than her, about 3 times. Things were going good in our relationship until I showed her my retirement/savings. She now doesn't see the point of working and has started framing our relationship in that she is the beautiful one and that I am the nerdy engineer that was lucky to have her. Before, when we met, she was all about making it her own way, eventually starting her own company with her sister in sourcing and recruiting. But now she jokes about driving a Range Rover and wearing Lululemon and going to yoga. We were having a discussion again about this trophy wife stuff, and she brought up that I was nerdy back in the day while she was very popular. I told her that she's not a trophy wife, that yes, she's attractive, but it's not a huge difference between us. I told her had it been the case that I met her when she was 22 and I was my current age, then sure, but she isn't 22 anymore. After I said that, she just started crying like crazy. She started saying that I think of her as ugly and used up, that her best years are behind her. She just told me that if I'm not happy to be with her, then why am I even here? And to stop wasting her time. I tried to talk to her, but she was in no state for a conversation. I don't know what to say, guys. For me, I just wanted to say that I think that we are of similar attractiveness. Like, I don't think anyone, when they see us, turns their head and is like, oh, she's with him because of the money. Oh, damn, he is so lucky to be with her. I think it's mutual. She was the one that, if anything, went after my attractiveness first. What should I do? I like the fact that we both work, and I don't want to change that dynamic. And I don't want her to think that she's above me and that I am so lucky to have her. I want her to think of us as equals, and in my attempt to do that, I hurt her feelings. What's the next move? In the comments, this seems to be a very textbook case of psychological projection. Because of your discrepancy in salary, she feels like she is worth less than you. She likely feels like her best years are behind her, seeing as you took off and are only going up. Her poking around about her being a trophy wife is her seeking validation that she is not worthless and that you still value her, and her financial contributions are nothing to be ashamed of. I don't think that she's a gold digger. I think she's taking some hits on her self-esteem, through no fault of your and her own. I think some counseling would go a long way here. DBomb18 says, I think that the trophy wife nonsense started when she found out how inadequate her money is compared to yours. She was and is ambitious. She wanted success and was confident in her achievements. When she found out that your income created something that she wanted to accomplish, but is now realizing that she may never get that type of money or success, I think it sent her into a midlife crisis. Her new perspective demonstrates her desire to be the best at something. The trophy wife you kind of described above is a new, visual, successful image to her. She has money, is beautiful, can wear the name brand clothes, do yoga, and has a husband who appreciates her for her looks because she is popular. These examples show that she wants to be appreciated and successful in some aspects of her life. I think she's going the superficial route because she feels like she hasn't achieved the success that she wanted at her age. She isn't financially as successful as you. Her job has probably peaked in salary, and she needs to feel needed, appreciated, and better than you in some way. I get that. I understand the psychology behind it, and it's good to understand why she is doing the things that she does. But how about some advice on what the hell to do about it then? Because, okay, we will validate her emotions and be like, yes, I understand where you're coming from. I'm sorry that you feel less than as a result of my success, but I want to be transparent with you so that this relationship can work. And if I feel the need to have to hide certain aspects of myself so that you don't compare yourself to me and spiral, then I don't feel like the relationship is genuine and I don't feel like it's a healthy dynamic. I understand where you're coming from, and that's why I want to help you. I want to build something with you that doesn't make you feel less than, because I, as your partner, never want you to feel like that. I want to build you up. That's what needs to be said in this instance. And if I were OP and she was genuinely saying that she was going to quit her job and live off of me and be that trophy wife, you know, a lot of people are saying it is projection, it is this, it is that. But if she is serious about it, like, that's not gonna happen. This relationship will not continue if you quit your job and live off of me. That is not realistic. So, yeah, not the asshole OP. And now, on to the update. Hey guys, so thank you all for sharing your responses. I tried my best to read through them all. I saw a lot of interesting perspectives. My only gripe with them was the fact that so many of the posts ignored so much relevant information. I had some long DMs with some people in similar situations, which was super helpful. A couple of things I want to add. To the people that said my girlfriend was a gold digger, she has climbed her own way from university to where she is now and has a good work ethic. Also, to the people that said my girlfriend lost motivation after seeing my wealth, she's dated guys that made more than me. Overall, I wanted my girlfriend to feel special and that she is the most beautiful woman in the world. But I don't like it that she's above me, that she is on a pedestal, and that I am this inferior engineer. We had a discussion, and things honestly just got worse. I tried to talk to her, but she was just bringing up the worst things that I said to her without any of the context of her basically calling me ugly. Also, she brought up too that my dad was awkward as hell. She brings up my comment about me saying that she would be a trophy wife at 22, but not at 30. She goes on to say that all the engineers that she has met have a chip on their shoulder for not getting laid when they were in college. And she goes on to start saying that that bitterness is coming out thinking that they are entitled to a hot young girlfriend because they couldn't date them in college. And that is why I made the comment trying to tear her down. I just got frustrated. So I was like, yeah, I agree. I never was able to get the hot girl in college, and even with all the money I make, still can't get them now. So unfortunately, I have to go second-hand and with a couple of wrinkles. Again, this just set things off, where she called me a misogynist for calling her second-hand, said that I treated her like a used car, and I'm pretty sure when she tells her friends about our fight, that's what she will tell them. I don't know what to say. It was just ridiculous. Like, she started this whole thing that I can't get the girls that I supposedly really want. Like, she's the one making this whole dating thing into haves and have-nots. So if you want that analogy, I will play that analogy too. I just agreed with it, and now I am the bad guy. I don't know what to do. She will say 10 bad things about me, that I was ugly, that I'm lucky to be with her, but when I respond, she blows up and storms out. I don't know what the hell to do. Like, we had fights before, but this just seems to be impossible. We had decent communication before, but now it's trash. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm more than open to talk without putting each other down, but she really wants me to be in some subservient position? I don't know. Maybe in her past relationships, she had that power over guys, where they were like, oh my god, I am dating someone so attractive. But I'm not okay with that. I don't know what she wants at this point. It seems like she's looking for a reason to break up. I know some people are saying break up, but I really was hoping to settle down soon. I hate the idea of starting from scratch all over again in dating. Like, we had so many amazing times together and a good idea of the future. I was excited. Someone beautiful and ambitious, and I get along with well? Now this? 2 months ago, we were talking about rings, how many people we would have at our wedding, whether we will send our kids to private school or not. Please send me your analysis of this situation. If there's something from the female perspective I don't understand, please tell me. I don't want to let this go without putting in my all. but I'm not going to be in a subservient position. What should I do? How can I handle this properly? In the comments, quote, I hate the idea of starting from scratch all over again in dating. If this is your main reason for wanting to stay together, it's a terrible reason. Just call it a day. End it. I think you would both be better off away from each other because this hitting you where it hurts style of arguing is only setting you up for a lifetime of misery. This really struck a chord with me too. Also how he said that she was beautiful, as if that was the main goal in having a partner. Unfortunately, I have to go second hand, has yikes stamped on it in 104-point font, man. There are a ton of responses here that come down to she deserved it, or lol, you get what you give, etc. I'd say the same thing that I said in the last thread for this. People with this tit-for-tat kind of relationship attitude are immature and do not belong in a relationship. Really, really sad and concerning to see this much support for hitting as hard as you can back, where it hurts, at someone you supposedly love. If you can't communicate that something they said to you hurts you, if they don't listen to you, leave the relationship. I cannot comprehend insulting my partner like this during a fight, and I'm still gobsmacked both of these people are 31 and 30. Tearing them down like this sends a signal that you're either done with the relationship or that you disdain them just that much, when disdain has been shown through research to be a relationship killer. I'd be astounded if anyone responding that way has a healthy attitude in their romantic relationships. Yeah, he's going to think her trophy wife comment is what broke them up, when it's really this one-upping each other's hurtful comments that's causing the damage. If their default is a you versus me attitude, then they were never going to make it long-term anyway. Now there's the relationship advice that I was looking for. Maybe I was naive in that first one, thinking that this was a relationship that could be salvaged, because, you know, that update gave us a lot more information on the relationship dynamic. If you hate your partner so much that you're not going to diffuse the situation and you're just going to keep one-upping each other in the most spiteful and disgusting ways that you can, just tearing at each other's deepest insecurities and doubling down, what do you expect? Do you expect the relationship to go well? Do you expect the sunk cost fallacy to save you here and be like, you know, I've already invested a year into this relationship. It was perfect, so why is it not perfect now? God, I hate my girlfriend so much, and she hates me, and we're constantly fighting, but I can't give up this relationship. I am stressed out on your behalf. Like, why? Why would you want to stay with that person? She makes me feel like shit, but I love her. No, you don't. She's a terrible person, and you're a terrible person back in your responses. You guys are not good for each other. Thank you for the story, but please break up and find someone that doesn't bring out the worst in you. Our next post is by user Proper Meringue, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for telling my niece that the family does not like her fiancé and that I won't be at her wedding? So for context, there's a 21-year age gap between myself and my eldest brother. This made it so that me, 28 female, and his oldest daughter, 23 female, are very close in age and have grown up very close. I am very much the favorite aunt and have always considered us friends, not just family. She comes to me when she has a problem that she didn't want to talk to her parents about. She tells me about her boyfriend and friend problems. She would call me when she was in college and needed a pickup from a party or bar, and I was the first person she told when her boyfriend proposed, calling me at 6 a.m. in the morning after because she was so excited to tell me. Some context on her fiancé. They've been together for 3 years, and he's 1 year younger than her. She just graduated college in May 2024, and he's on track to graduate in May of 2025. They have their wedding scheduled for just a week after his graduation. He's studying biochemical and microengineering and is very smart. He's more on the introverted side with a dry humor. Since she introduced him to the family, we could tell they're serious and tried to be as welcoming as possible, inviting him to family events and on trips, getting him birthday and Christmas presents, and genuinely trying to get to know him. Whenever he's around our family, he acts annoyed all the time, like it's painful to spend time with us, and he expects my niece to stay by his side the whole function, getting annoyed if any of the little cousins ask her to play, including my children. More context, my niece is my children's godmother, and expects her to leave at the same time as him, even if they drove separately. My eldest brother is constantly advocating for him, saying he's just introverted, and that the size of our family makes him uncomfortable, insisting that he's different when it's smaller groups or one-on-one. But I haven't seen it, even when it was just the two of them with myself and my husband. He talks to everyone like we're stupid and is extremely condescending. When they got engaged, things got worse. With how close we are, I was expecting to be asked to be a part of the wedding party, but she did not ask me. I was a little hurt, but I chose to let it go because it's her special day and her choice. Then his family planned the engagement party and didn't invite any of my party. She explained that it was just a small affair, just their parents and siblings, but I later found out that she lied to me when I saw pictures on social media. I did confront her about that, but she said that she didn't plan the guest list, so I tried to let that go too. Then she didn't invite myself or my mum to her dress outing, saying that it was a limited number of people allowed and that she wanted to make sure that his mum and sisters could come with her. After that, I told her that it really seemed like she was trading our family for his family. She said she wasn't, but when I asked them later how they planned to spend the holidays, he said they'd spend them with his family. My last straw was over December and January. In December, she invited me and my husband over for dinner. I was excited because she hadn't initiated us hanging out since her engagement. Dinner was nice. It was a little awkward since conversation wasn't smooth with her fiancé, but it was pleasant enough. When the check came, my husband took care of it after it sat on the table for about 15 minutes, and they didn't offer to split or even pay, even though they invited us. Then, when we were ready to go, they asked if we could have a serious conversation. I was confused as to why we didn't have it during the meal, but they proceeded to ask us for money to pay for their wedding. She said that it was turning out to be more expensive than they thought, and they needed help since their parents don't make enough. I asked why they didn't wait until he was working and not just in an unpaid internship, or until she got a full-time job instead of a part-time job. I said that I wasn't saying no, but just that I wanted to understand why they wanted to have their wedding so fast. The wedding is about 8 months after their engagement. That conversation devolved into an argument about financial responsibility, where her fiancé said if we can help, then we should, because we are family. And then following up with us having plenty of time to re-save, when my husband explained a lot of our money was invested into our children's future. After we offered $2,000 as a little something to help, my niece brought up savings from my deceased husband's life insurance. I asked if she really thought bringing up my deceased husband was going to help her. We then repeated our offer of $2,000, and he asked if that was all that we'd really give them, so we withdrew the offer. We left enraged. Then before Christmas, my mum invited them over to bake because the fiancé enjoys baking desserts and bread. He was so rude to her throughout that she came over for some grandkid time and tea because she was so sad. My dad was pissed, and then neither my niece or fiancé came to Christmas. We had a family get-together around New Year's, and when we were driving two of my brothers and their wives home, we had a conversation about how sick everyone was of the fiancé and how we wished they weren't getting married. Finally, in January, it was my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. I planned a party for them, and then they were going to go to Mexico, which was group financed by myself and my siblings for our parents. Fiancé was only coming to the party as he couldn't miss school for Mexico. The party was fancy, RSVP invitations, private venue, catered semi-formal dress code. A week before, my niece texted me and let me know that fiancé wasn't going to come to the party because of a fraternity event. I told her that this was an important family event, and on top of that, it was rude to skip out on an event that you've RSVP'd to without a good reason, and made it clear that I didn't consider his fraternity a good reason, considering how long he's known about the event. She said she would talk to him, but I never heard back, so I was unsure if he was going to come. The day of, he showed up late wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and backward cap. My mum, still trying to be nice, said that she was glad that he was there, and he responded, like I had a choice. He then stayed in his seat, not speaking to the people at his table or participating in the activities. About halfway through, we were taking a family picture and invited him to be in it, and he said, "This isn't my family." My mum started crying and excused herself to the bathroom. I pulled him aside and snapped. I told him that if he didn't want to be in this family, to get the hell out. That I was tired of dealing with his attitude and disrespect and pretending to like him, and I told him to leave. When my niece went to follow him, I told her that if she went with him, that she should forget coming to Mexico with us. She didn't follow him, but she made it clear that she was upset that he had been kicked out. The adults in the family, about 12 of us, sat down with her to air out our grievances about her fiancé with her so that she understood the extent of the problem. But she still defended him, saying that we just didn't know him as well, and that we made him uncomfortable. After that conversation, I told my husband that I just couldn't act like nothing was wrong anymore. So we declined on the RSVP to the wedding. She texted me, asking why we said no, and I met her for coffee. I explained to her that I didn't feel like I could support her marriage and that he wasn't a good person. I felt like her independence and everything that was special about her was disappearing behind his expectations. She disagreed and told me that I just didn't understand. She then told me that if I really cared about her, that I should suck it up and come to the wedding. So am I the asshole here? Should we go to the wedding? And was I wrong for telling her in the first place? Update: my niece was raised in a Christian household, and she chose to maintain her faith while in college when she did live independently, on scholarship in student-subsidized housing with one roommate away from parents for 4 years. And from what I understand, her fiancé is too. They don't live together, and they don't do overnights by their own choice. She has returned to living with her parents because she is broke and unmotivated, and he lives in a frat house. 1 million eye rolls just happened. Her parents also expect her to follow their rules, including a curfew while living at home, in respect for the routine that has been established for her special needs sister. So while I do agree with the assessment that he's setting her up to be isolated, they aren't currently in a situation or the privacy for financial or emotional abuse. I do also think he's a narcissist. She agreed to sit down and talk with me again, and I was able to better articulate my concerns for her future and what she is setting herself up for, and my concerns about him. We are still not going to the wedding. I explained to her that part of it is because I love her, that ultimately it's supposed to be a special day for her, and that with the way that I feel about him, that I would object to the union in front of everyone as opposed to privately. I told her that whatever she chooses, that I'm always specifically in her corner, and that I hope that she will still want to spend time with me and my kids, but more than that, to know that she can come to me anytime for anything, and that for her sake, I do hope that I'm wrong about him. We did get her a few things off the registry that I knew were more for her than him. She said that she would think about everything, so we'll see what happens between now and then. And to the person who said they thought that I didn't think it through on what this might mean for the future, I can assure you I did. My family means the world to me, and I don't want to hurt her or my relationship with her, but we got to the point where I couldn't stay quiet and pretend like there wasn't anything wrong. Thanks to everyone for the input. It really helped me organize my thoughts and think through everything that has happened. In the comments, not the asshole, but I don't think you were seeing things clearly. The guy made her own grandma cry, and she defends him. You all act as if he is the problem here, but she is choosing him. She is defending him. He is that way because she allows it to be. He made her grandma cry, and she still said that you were all in the wrong. She's not some silly child blinded by love. She sees what he does, but still chooses him when he so blatantly disrespects all of you. She is the arsehole here. Well, the fiancé too, of course, but it wouldn't matter if she was not choosing him. Stop believing that she's just some misguided child. She's an adult and making very clear choices. Not the asshole. I like how when asking for money, y'all are all family, but when it's time to take a picture, y'all aren't family. I would let your niece know that while you don't support her marriage, you support her and will be there for her if she needs to leave. Not the asshole. He really said, "This isn't my family," at a 50th anniversary party after begging for wedding money. You dodged a bullet not funding his big day. Yeah, this is definitely a situation where you can lead a horse to water, you can show a horse all of the data, you can play back recordings of other horses dying from dehydration, and you still will not be able to convince the horse to drink, no matter what. This is a horse that is hell-bent on dying of dehydration, and there is nothing you can do or say to change its mind because its mind is made up. I'm convinced this is as much a her problem as it is a him problem. They are both very sad and I'd say degenerate individuals in the way that they conduct themselves. Him being such an asshole when this family is so inviting and accepting of him, and him continually attacking them, berating them, and putting them down, that's degenerate behavior. He is a degenerate. Her enabling it, her excusing it, and her refusing to acknowledge that he's doing anything wrong is degenerate behavior. They are both degenerates for what they are doing. Again, you gotta let these people make the mistakes that they are bound to make. Let them feel the consequences of their behavior. Know that you are not doing the wrong thing if you take your hands off the wheel and say, "Hey, Jesus, you take the wheel, buddy. I don't want any more of this. I don't want to be involved." Don't go to the wedding, don't financially support them, but do make it very clear to her that you are there for her when she falls on her ass. When she needs help, herself, when he is not in the picture, you are there for her because you care. Because she ultimately is worth it, but she's going to have to make some mistakes along the way. Not the asshole. And now, on to the update. So I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to have anything else to update after my husband and I decided not to go to the wedding, and figured that if I did have more to update, it wouldn't be until after the wedding. But holy hell, was I wrong. I figured that I'd share since so many people were invested and gave great advice when I needed it before. So first off, my daughter and I ended up going to the bridal shower at the end of April. My niece asked me repeatedly to come, and I figured that things would be relatively drama-free since the fiancé doesn't get to come to that. I asked in advance if she was sure she wanted my daughter to come since she's under 10. I was assured that there would be other children there and that my niece really wanted her goddaughter there. Skip to the day of, and my daughter was the only child. One of my sister-in-laws even told me that she was told not to bring her 3 daughters, 1 older and 2 younger than my daughter. The maternal aunt kept scolding my daughter for touching things, even though I was keeping an eye on her and she did no such thing. The mother of the groom asked if I was purposely trying to ruin the event, and the groom's sister said that it was rude of me to bring her. Degenerate family. I was ready to just walk out, but the bride's 19-year-old sister took my daughter to play in her room upstairs. My other niece that took her upstairs has special needs and had said that she was feeling overstimulated, but the bride was still upset that she didn't stay downstairs for the whole event. The bride never even said hi to my daughter, making her feel very sad when we went home. We played those "How well do you know the bride" games, which I won, prompting my niece to say that I was basically her best friend, causing an awkward silence as the room became confused as to why I wasn't in her wedding party. Extra special surprise for me when I found out that all the groom's sisters are in her bridal party, but her best friend and her own sister are not. About a week later, we got together to celebrate my dad's birthday. When my mum invited them, the fiancé responded, "If I don't have anything better to do, then I might come." My mum didn't hear anything else, so assumed that he wasn't coming, and when he showed up, she had to set a place for him, prompting him to play the victim, saying that we don't want him around. He then had to be asked to put his phone away at the table while we were all eating, and no one else had their phones with them. The final straw for my parents was twofold. They asked about the rehearsal dinner because you'd think the grandparents of the bride would be invited. They were told that it was wedding party only, which basically includes the groom's whole family. I later found out through other people that the groom's grandparents were going to the rehearsal dinner because they came from out of state and wanted as much time with the grandkids as they could get. I kept that tidbit to myself because I didn't want my parents to be more hurt than they already were feeling. They then had the audacity to ask my parents to hang out with the bride's sister since she doesn't do well staying at home alone, and they would all be busy at the dinner. The second thing was that the bride asked my mum what she'd be wearing to the wedding specifically, asking if she was going to be buying a new dress. My mum said that she wasn't buying something new because she already had a nice dress. My niece responded that my mum dresses old-fashioned and frumpy, and that she didn't think anything she already had would be appropriate for the wedding. My mum is very stylish for her age, mid-70s, and the dress that she had picked out was gorgeous. My mum told her that she was being rude, but that she would give her the benefit of the doubt because planning a wedding was stressful, and sent her a picture of the dress. She then told my niece that she had gotten it for her best friend's daughter's wedding and had only ever worn it that once, so my niece hadn't seen it before. My niece responded, I guess it's okay. And my mum felt very defeated, and my dad had had enough. He responded on their behalf with, "From our various interactions, it does not seem that you want us to be participants in your special day. Your grandmother and I will no longer be attending your wedding." They then returned their wedding gifts. My husband and I decided to do the same. And now, from my side of the family, the only ones that are going are 2 of my 5 siblings. One because it's his daughter, and one because his wife is playing the guitar during the ceremony and he did not want her going alone. She does piano or acoustic guitar accompaniment for special events professionally, and she had committed before the bulk of the drama happened, and did not want to harm her professional reputation by backing out last minute. That brother has let everyone know that they will not be staying past the ceremony, that his kids are hanging out with Grammy and Gramps, and that he's going full petty by wearing jeans, t-shirt and hat, just like the fiancé did to our parents' 50th anniversary celebration. That's all I've got for now, and I don't know what else could happen at this point, but I'll keep you updated. The wedding is 1 week away. In the comments, OP on her niece and the fiancé's plans after graduation and wedding. They've got a 1-bedroom apartment lined up that had to be co-signed by a parent. He also had a conditional offer from the place that he interned with during school, pending his graduation, which just happened last week. Yes, their wedding and his graduation are only 2 weeks apart. None of us went to his graduation, so after the honeymoon, he should have a big boy job. Why was OP's daughter the only child invited to the bridal party? OP says, "I did not. It kind of seemed like a wires crossed situation. Sister-in-law with the little nieces was told not to by sister-in-law who was mother of the bride, but I was told yes by the bride. So my guess is just poor communication between the 2 of them." And a further comment with more information. So, to address a few things that I've noticed popping up, the reason the fiancé was invited to the family dinner was my mum. We, her children, have asked her to stop inviting him to things because he always inevitably ruins the atmosphere, but she's a part of the generation where family always gets another chance and you do everything to keep the peace. We are slowly but surely helping her establish and keep healthy boundaries, but she was also holding on to hope that she would be gaining a grandson and not losing a granddaughter. My niece is absolutely contributing to the problem. She did not used to be this way. As I've said before, we were good friends. She's the godmother to my kids, and was in both my weddings. I noticed her becoming more self-centered as she gained independence in college. I hoped that it would get better, but it's gotten worse, contributed to by the dipshit and his family. I'm trying to find the balance in letting her know that I love her, and that if she's in trouble or needs help, that we are here, but that her current attitude and actions are unacceptable and unsupported. Sometimes she does acknowledge that he's rude, but also has an excuse lined up like school stress, internship workload, bad day sort of stuff. It just always comes back to, he's a good guy and we just don't know him well enough. I think my brother is in denial and just doesn't want to admit that his daughter is getting into a bad thing. He is full of all of the excuses too, i.e., introverted, not comfortable with large groups, stressed, tired, smart to the detriment of social skills. We have heard it all. It's kind of hard to ignore when your whole family decides not to show up to the wedding though, so maybe it'll kick some sense into him. He was very angry when I sent him screenshots of the texts between his daughter and our mum though, so I'll give him props for that one. Beach Polini says, this is going to crash and burn within the next 5 years, with at least one toddler along for the ride, if not 2 or more. I can already tell. Or they're going to be these miserable couples that stay together for the kids. Meanwhile, if their kids could, they'd be the ones divorcing their parents for their own sanity. And if they do have kids, I'm sure the kids will be going no contact with the both of them when they're 18. That's a lot of words for OP to still not fully realize how much her niece just sucks on her own. Cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug. You see it with family members of people who are genuinely terrible people, felony-level offenses. They simply cannot allow themselves to see them as anything other than the sweet kid that they knew growing up. I'm not surprised that it's hard to break when the person is just generally kind of a dick, especially because it sounded like OP grew up with them more of as a pseudo-little sister rather than a niece. What an exhausting family. And yeah, look, I don't fault OP for wanting to pick her up if she falls and when she falls, but maybe, listen to the comments and realize she might have changed. She might have evolved into a genuinely terrible person with very little redeeming qualities right now. Maybe I need to take a step back, listen to the other people around me, and realize that she actually does suck a lot more than I'm giving her credit for, and that she is her own worst enemy in this situation. She is going to cut herself off from everyone that loves her, and it will be her fault. She has had enough chances, and she has doubled down and spat on those trying to help her every single time. I am exhausted with her, and I don't even know her. If I was in that family, I'd be staying the hell away from her. What a load of nonsense, these two. They sound like they deserve each other, and I hope that they are very unhappy in each other's presence. Good luck with the marriage, you two. I'm sure it's gonna go well. I have been lying to my husband about my religion our entire relationship. I, female 25, and my husband, male 25, have been dating since we were in high school. Both my parents had been raised Orthodox Christians, and they did get married in a church, but it was mainly so that my grandparents didn't disown them. They did get me baptized, and we occasionally attended church when my grandparents visited, but I do identify as an atheist. The high school friend group we were both in, while not at a religious school, did have a lot of Christian-affiliated people in it, and as someone who has always been embarrassed whenever church came up, it allowed me to talk openly about my few experiences with it. However, as all teenagers do, I lied, and I heavily played up how religious I was to fit in. This was partly because my husband, the guy that I liked at the time, was Christian, and while he had dated people who weren't, I thought that it would give me a shoe-in to a relationship. I would act as though I believed in God 100%, which I do not. We started dating at 15, and we would bond over God, and he would invite me to his church. I always felt a bit guilty, but assumed that the relationship wouldn't go anywhere. I sometimes felt doubt and wanted to call it off, but from a couple weeks into the relationship, he would talk about dating to marry and love over lust, which, as a teenage girl, felt like something straight from a storybook and made me feel special. As our relationship developed, I just kept hoping that if I went to church enough with him, I would begin believing, and I would never need to tell him that I lied in the beginning. He proposed to me at the end of 2022, and we got married in a cathedral last year. While I know that I should have told him then, it was too perfect to destroy it, and I was scared. I had spent almost a decade with him, and leaving didn't feel like an option. I don't know what to do. I feel as though I'm living a lie. He doesn't believe in divorce, so even if I was to tell him, I don't know what would happen. In the comments, Hopeful Hyena says, "You manipulated him, and the reality is, you can't live like this forever. It is clearly weighing on you, and that's not fair to you or to him to continue without him knowing. Relationships are built on trust, and while this is a huge thing to confess, continuing to hide it will only make it worse." This is a classic case of getting too deep into the lie. You lie about something, people believe it, you're worried about what will happen when you reveal that you lied, but the more time passes, the worse it'll be when you reveal the deception, so it just gets harder and harder to reveal. Putting aside the fact that you lied to this man in order to forge a relationship, which is pretty fucked up to be honest, do you think you can sustain this lie for the rest of your life and live with the guilt of deceiving a man that you claim to love? From my perspective, it seems like there are 4 options. A. Take the secret to your grave. Potentially very difficult. Could blow up in your face if you ever break. Husband lives with a wife that he doesn't even really know, but ignorance is bliss. B. Break off the relationship without revealing the lie. It relieves the guilt, but saves face. You don't have to live a lie anymore, but husband will likely be very hurt. C. Reveal the deception. This will likely cause severe trust issues in husband. Possible that it will end the relationship and tarnish your reputation, but best case scenario, with a lot of therapy, could create a genuine, honest relationship. Or D. Pretend to deconstruct/deconvert and lose your faith. You do not reveal the full extent of your deception, allowing you to save face, and will potentially lead to a more real relationship. Might not alleviate guilt completely, depending on the depth of his faith, could break the relationship anyway, and will almost certainly be a challenging time for him. Less likely to make him hate you though. What a dilemma to be faced with. And I know it's such a cop-out to say it all the time, but I'm going to say it regardless because it bears repeating. I feel like this is one of those situations that person to person, their feelings about it and, how they view your deception will vary heaps. Because there will be a lot of people of faith, and I'm guessing not of faith as well, that will be like, this is a relationship-breaking lie. This sucks. How could you do that? You need to tell him right now. And my initial assessment was like, it's not that deep, it's chill. But then this guy brings out the 4 options, and I'm like, oh my god, it's actually pretty deep, isn't it? This is a very deep web of lies that you've got yourself into, OP. And, if and when she tells him, because I think telling him is the right thing to do, I think he's going to lose his shit. I think this is going to break him, to be honest. I think this is going to destroy him, that you've done this to him and deceived him for so long. And I guess you will have deserved it personally. I hope it doesn't go as badly as it does, but man, the path to hell wasn't even paved with good intentions. These were bad intentions from the start, OP. Don't marry someone by lying to them on the way there. It's never a good idea. And now, onto the update. I told him. I couldn't take the weight of it anymore, and I confessed everything. How I lied at the start, how I don't believe in God, how I tried to force myself to for him. He didn't yell. He just sat quietly. Just to clarify from the last post, he isn't Orthodox, he is Protestant. But when we were in high school, whenever we would talk about religion, I would say that I agreed more with Protestantism than the religion that I supposedly was. When we got married, it was in a church, and he fully believes that I converted with little doubt in my new faith. After I told him everything, he left. He went to his parents' house, and I didn't see him all weekend. He didn't call, text, or anything. On Tuesday, he returned home and he sat me down to talk. He is understandably heartbroken. Not because I'm not Protestant, but because I lied. He wasn't sure if it's the real me that he loves, and his trust is broken. I asked him how he wants to move forward, but he hasn't decided. He has always dreamt of a family with me and doesn't want to lose that, but that dream has already been destroyed by my confession. I've suggested going to relationship counseling, But he says he isn't ready and is scared they will try to save the relationship rather than giving truthful advice based on his past experience with family therapists growing up. I really hope that he wants to stay and forgive me for what I've done. I've explained that if we have children, I'm happy to raise them under Christian beliefs and even continue attending church with him, though I'm nervous this would build more resentment. I love him so much and would do anything to help him want to stay. In the comments, Pat Deshuri says, "Trust is gained in drops and lost in buckets. You're going to have to wait. OP, it's out of your hands at the moment. You must now sit and wait for his decision going forward. You lied about a fundamental part of who you are and what you believe for your whole relationship. Of course the trust has been obliterated. Anything you say to him now will sound hollow." Muted Piccolo says, "I was raised Protestant, congregational, went to Sunday school every week, was christened and joined the church. My mother was a member of all the women's church groups and a deacon for years. I don't go to church, though I had my children christened there. Imagine my surprise when my mother told me that she never believed the teachings of the church, but she enjoyed the sense of community that was so important to it. Helping people, supporting what they did for others. If you and your husband stay together, look at the church as my mother did. It was her way of serving the community." The final filter says, "I mean, OP basically pretended to be someone that she wasn't, and in doing so, lied to her husband the whole relationship. So I get why he can't just forgive and forget. I'm trying not to demonize OP, but this is a pretty fundamental part of who a person is, at least in my experience, so to lie about something like that is not something you can just shrug off. Yeah, this has very little to do with religion in my opinion. The husband not knowing if she's the wife that he loves is very valid given the level of deception. Yeah, if this was him giving his perspective about what she had done to him in this story, I would say this is a fundamental incompatibility, that if you can't trust her to be who she has said she was from the start, how can you trust anything that she has done from this point forward? Or how can you trust your entire past with her? What else was she lying about? What is she capable of lying about? And those are the thoughts that are going to keep you up at night. They are going to haunt you. They are going to tear you apart. If they do go to couples counseling and work this one out, and are able to come out on the other side, still together, solid, and reforging the trust that they once had in each other in a new form, I will be very much happy for them. But if he were to come and ask what he should do on this forum, I'd say it's best you take a long, hard look within yourself and ask whether you can look past the betrayal and whether you can stay in this marriage knowing that she lied to you so fundamentally and that you can't trust her anymore. My answer wouldn't be, you have to divorce her. I'm saying, I wouldn't blame you if you divorced her for this, because she is no longer the person that you married and your marriage was based upon a lie. Thank you for the story, OP. Good luck. Our next post is by user visibly4210, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for asking my friend's girlfriend how old she was when she made that ceramic?" This happened a few days ago, and I wanted to get some opinions. My friend, who I'll call Marcus, his girlfriend Sarah, invited me and a couple more friends to dinner as a way to getting to know one another. It's not me, by the way. Marcus had told us before that Sarah had been interested in ceramics since she was a kid, and there were a lot of them displayed in her home. Now, here, I just want to say that I had no malicious intent when I asked this question, and I just wanted to show that I was interested in getting to know her, as she seemed like a genuinely nice person. So I saw a little ceramic pot in the living room and asked her how old she was when she made that one, as I also participated in the ceramics club when I was a kid, and it reminded me of a similar one that I made, which I still keep in my house. When I asked the question, I could see on her face that she got upset, and she told me that she made it a couple of weeks ago. I immediately tried to explain myself, saying that I didn't mean that it was bad or anything, and told her about my own little pot that I made, but I could see that it wasn't really helping. Marcus gave me a look and then changed the subject, but I could sense that she was a bit more distant towards me throughout the day. After we left, Marcus called me to berate me while I tried to explain everything again. Sounds like me, guys. I'd do that. He is still angry with me for everything, and though I feel bad about my comment, I didn't mean anything bad by it. So what do you think? Am I the asshole? In the comments, Endafia says, "Soft, you're the asshole, only because of the way that you phrased it. You could have asked, when did you make this?" Asking her how old she was makes it seem like you thought it looked like a child's work. This is the right response. OP definitely put their foot in their mouth with the phrasing. A simple, "Oh, when did you make this piece?" Maybe even followed by something like, "I used to be into ceramics when I was younger, so I can appreciate the time and effort put into something like this." Not the asshole. I'm not, by any means, an artist, and it's very apparent. I went to Color Me Mine years ago and painted a ceramic container. I painted a flower on the lid. It was god-awful. I gave it to my mum. Being a mum, she proudly displayed her adult daughter's work of art. I was over one day, and my mum had a visitor. He commented on the container. My mum proudly told him that I painted it. He smiled and asked me how old I was when I painted it. I said, "This old." And I just couldn't stop laughing. I mean, I knew it was awful, and he apologized, and I said, no need to apologize. It does look like a child painted it. My mum never stopped displaying it. I understand where you're coming from. I'm sure the girlfriend was embarrassed, but you did not intentionally set out to embarrass her. It was just an unfortunate case of foot in mouth. You'll know better next time. OP has come down with a serious and life-threatening case of foot-in-mouth disease. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry that I unleashed my anger on OP in this situation. Please forgive the Makai of the world. We are a gentle and emotional species. He was simply protecting those closest to him. He maybe gets a little angry and emotional and irrational sometimes. Give him some leeway. He's protecting his woman. God bless his soul. I'm gonna say it's not the asshole, but I understand why Marcus reacted that way, and there's nothing wrong with him reacting that way. I can see why he would be offended, because he doesn't know if you genuinely meant that she's a child or not. I think you just give this one some time, talk it out, tell him that you're an idiot for the way that you phrased it, and you genuinely did not mean it that way, and, move on from this together. And now, on to the update. So I don't know if anyone gives a shit. Oh, trust me, I do. But just because I can, I thought I would make an update. My judgment was not the asshole, but the real judgment was that I was an idiot, which I agree with. So today, I talked with Marcus and asked him if he could ask Sarah if she was available today and if she would be open to having a chat, as I wanted to apologize and talk to her about everything. She ended up agreeing to meet with me, and so I went to her place. And I asked her how old she was when she made that one. No, I'm kidding. Imagine. I apologized profusely for what happened, and told her that I didn't mean to compare her talent or art to that of a child, because she was in fact very talented. Thankfully, she accepted my apology. I also told her that I liked the pot that she made a lot and showed her the one that I made. She said that while it was very cute, it also looked like absolute dog shit, which is giving it more credit than it deserves. Jesus. After that, I also showed her my ceramic bowls, which hold no competition to their prehistoric counterparts, and my ceramic swan, which never really grew out of its ugly duckling phase. We laughed and talked for a while, and she offered to show me some more of her artwork, which I was very happy about. After everything, she even took me to the basement, which also doubled as her ceramic studio, to show me around there as well. Seeing the opportunity, we decided to get our hands dirty and made a friendship bowl type thing, which was very fun. Overall, I would say that it was a very good day and a successful apology. In the comments, Tiberius the Fish says, "Well done. Shocking to see two people behaving like rational adults." Quick, get them off Reddit. I'm not sure that's allowed. They're too pure. It's always nice to be reminded that Reddit is also a home to thoughtful people who can acknowledge a misstep and make it right. This one gets extra credit considering they were able to bond over a shared hobby and make something new to honor the friendship. Sometimes it's okay to put your foot in your mouth. How else are you going to find out your feet are made of clay? Wait, so it was terrible when he accidentally, slightly implied that her work was equivalent to a child's, but fine when she outright calls his dog shit? It's nice they made up, but the double standard rather bothers me. Yeah, I was surprised she was so sensitive, but then said something much worse. But maybe we're missing tone and context, like OP seems to laugh about it a lot. So might have said it first and she just agreed. However, the whole thing sounds so awkward to me. Although OP's comment came across wrong, that was a complete misunderstanding. Not really needing the friend to get outraged and involved in defense of the girlfriend, then a special meeting about it, and then an intentional reciprocal insult. Apologizing at the time should have been enough, but at least they worked it out, I guess. Guys, can we bring Marcus back? I need to know what he thinks of this after the fact. Is Marcus gonna apologize for the dog shit insult that his girlfriend just dished out? That's it, I'm getting my pitchfork, I'm pissed off. Ohana no longer means family. Ohana means Marcus has to pay for his crimes. Look, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say it was a contextual, tonal thing that you had to be there for to understand. And everyone laughed it off. When the plane landed, everyone stood up and clapped. And we're all going to have a happy birthday. So thank you for the story. Very epic. Very cool. Glad that you guys worked it out and it was all just one big misunderstanding. Cheers for the story, OP. Our next post is by user BrightReach2112, and it's titled, Am I overreacting because my boyfriend is still secretly talking to his exes? I, 24 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 27 male, for almost a year. Things were great at first, but over the last few months, I've noticed small things like him hiding his phone screen when I walk by, or even turning off notifications. Recently, I found out he's still talking to one of his exes. Not just casual like, hey, hope you're doing well kind of messages, but late-night conversations, jokes, and even calling him by a pet name they used to use. The girl even sent a flirty selfie. When I confronted him, he said that I was blowing things out of proportion and that they're just friends. But if that's true, why hide it and delete messages? I don't want to be controlling, but I feel disrespected. He says I'm being insecure and paranoid, but my gut says otherwise. Am I overreacting for feeling betrayed and thinking about ending things over this? In the comments, Forward Piccolo says, Tell him she can have you and leave. There's no reason that you should be putting up with this bullshit at your given age. You're not overreacting. There is no valid reason whatsoever as to why he's talking to his ex. Do yourself a favor, and for your own self-love and respect, leave. I'm only 19, but I would leave in a situation like that. This is super disrespectful in a relationship. He's also just trying to manipulate you into thinking that you are crazy, but he knows what he's doing, and it's wrong. And if he tries to apologize, say thank you, and still leave. Because he's a grown-ass man and should know better. The point is not talking to his exes, the point is trying to hide it. Major red flag. Exactly this. It's not just the ex, it's the sneaky behavior that makes it shady. If everything is so innocent, why act guilty? Hiding conversations, deleting messages, and downplaying your feelings just screams red flag. Trust your instincts on this. The fact he feels he has to hide his phone or turn off notifications already indicates guilt on his end. To your point, if they were just being friendly, he wouldn't feel the need to hide his phone, delete messages, and wouldn't entertain being flirted with. All of that, OP, if they're turning off notifications, they're staying up late, they're probably deleting the messages too, yeah. Everything that was just said, what are you doing? Just leave. If they're so happy to openly do this in front of you, what else are they happy to do with behind your back? What can you trust? What can you not trust? Like that last commenter said, trust your instincts. I think it is time to pack it up and find someone that doesn't play games like this. And now, onto the update. Hey again everyone. I wasn't planning to update this, but after reading all of your responses and sitting with my thoughts for a few days, a lot has happened. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented, even the brutally honest ones. I needed that wake-up call more than I realized. I spent so long trying to rationalize his behavior, convincing myself that I was being too sensitive, that I forgot what it actually feels like to be respected and emotionally safe in a relationship. So after my original post, I decided to sit down and have a real conversation with him. Not a confrontation, but a calm, direct talk. I asked him straight up, why are you still entertaining flirty conversations with your ex if you say you love me? Why the secrecy? And of course, he gave me the usual gaslight parade. You're blowing this out of proportion. She's just a friend. You're overthinking again. But this time, I did not fold. I didn't get defensive or cry. I just looked at him and said, you clearly care more about keeping this connection alive with your ex than being honest with me. I'm done. And y'all, he had nothing to say after that. Just silence. I packed my essentials that night and stayed at a friend's place. I didn't block him, but I muted everything. No more back and forth, no drama, just silence and peace. I'm not gonna lie, it still hurts. Almost a year of my life, and I feel like I never really knew who he was, but weirdly, I feel more powerful now than I have in months. Like I finally chose me. If anyone else reading this is in that same confused, gut-screaming space, listen to it. People who love you won't leave you guessing. Thanks again to everyone who helped me see what I was refusing to admit to myself. With love, OP. In the comments, Mediocre Nectarine says, someone capable of critical thinking and a sense of self-worth? This early in the morning? Wow, good for OP. And Laundry Ghost says, first, let me say how incredible you are to not only realize that you were being disrespected and deserve better, but not fold when he tried to gaslight and manipulate you. I am so proud of you for seeing this through to the end and choosing yourself instead of a man who doesn't even respect you enough to not entertain his ex while doing who knows what with her. So many people couldn't have done what you did today, and he was never worth the time, effort, or love that you gave. He didn't deserve it. Here's to you moving on and your life being so much better now that you've cut him out and chosen your happiness instead. I'm genuinely so happy for you. Am I overreacting by telling my boyfriend if he marries his best friend, I'll break up with him? My boyfriend wants to marry his best friend for benefits. So I, female 19, and my boyfriend, male 21, have been together for about a year now. We've talked about marriage, and I'm hopeful that he proposes in the next year. He's in the army, and we have been long distance for the majority of our time together. Today, he called me and said he was talking to his friend and roommate, male 22, we'll call him John for the story, about getting married for the benefits, a pay increase, and being able to live in a house instead of the barracks. I thought he was joking at first, but he began to explain that there are bugs in their barracks and that he is tired of it. He also went on to say that if he and John got married, it would be easier for me to visit him because I could just stay in the house with him, and with the extra money, he would be able to pay for a plane ticket for me to go see him. I'm starting college this fall, and am currently unemployed as I wanted the summer before college starts free, but I've had a job the last 3 years and have ample savings for school and enough for a visit to see him, so I don't think it's even necessary for him to pay for me. I've told him this, but he kept saying that he wants to at least pay half, which I'm okay with, but don't think he should marry his friend just because of that. In the time we talked on this point, I told him that he would be a divorced man when we get married, and he just laughed at that. Then he told me that I could be his side piece while he was married to John, and that was sexy. Like, what? I've never worried about my boyfriend being attracted to the opposite sex before, or anyone other than me in general, so I really don't think he is attracted to John like that. I have reasons for not liking John though, such as he cheated with a married woman before and influences my boyfriend to smoke and drink, which I dislike. Edit: John does influence my boyfriend to smoke and drink, but the majority of the time he declines. He usually only does that thing if it's a special occasion or he's unusually stressed. My boyfriend has also been choosing him over me recently. Like today, when he called me about the whole marriage thing, John called him while on the phone with me, and my boyfriend immediately said bye to me. No "I love you" or anything which is normal, he just said, "John's calling, bye," and hung up, and still hasn't called me back. I believe that marriage isn't just something that you should do for benefits, and his reasons for wanting to marry his friend just sound dumb to me. I fully believe he loves me, and he wants to marry me and have a life together, so why would he even want to marry his friend? I don't know if it's relevant to this, but yesterday his grandfather passed away, and I don't know if this is like a coping thing or something, and I want to be sensitive to him, but I don't even know at this point. I'm just curious if anyone else thinks this is mad weird, so please help. We were just texting, and I told him that I'd break up with him if he actually marries John. Am I overreacting? Edit: I know I'm young, and a lot of the comments say it's a bad idea to marry into the military, or just at this age in general, which is valid to be honest, but it's my dream to be a stay-at-home mum, and I know what I want in the long run. My attending college decision is still pretty fresh, as I really do not want to attend, but it was mostly to alleviate pressure from my parents, who said that I was rushing things. So college was my compromise, and gives me and my boyfriend more time, which very well might be needed. I don't mind waiting to get married, which is why I'm going to college. I know I'm naive in some things, but we're all bound to make some mistakes, unfortunately. My boyfriend has said that if I enjoy college and want to complete a degree, after his current duty station is up, he would try to get stationed near me. Although him and John are good friends, they are fairly new as roommates, only about a month or two, and up until a few weeks ago, John has had a girlfriend. Maybe John is into my boyfriend. In the comments, Filter99 says, "Not overreacting. Plain and simple, it's a dumb idea, even if it's all just a joke in the end. Your side is simple. You don't want to date a married guy because then you'd be dating a cheater. No matter what the situation really is, that's the sum of it. You have more respect for yourself than that, I'm sure." OP says, "I think you summed that up better than how it was in my head, lol. I don't want to date or end up marrying someone who doesn't give marriage the respect that it deserves. It's not meant to be used and then tossed away, so yeah, if he is being fully serious and would do something like this, that wouldn't work for me anymore. Thanks for getting it. He's gay, but there's nothing wrong with that." OP says, "There is something wrong if he doesn't tell me, cheats on me, or marries a man in the name of benefits. He's cheating on you now. You are his cover. He's dating you so that he doesn't have to come out of the closet yet. Go low contact with him. Keep calls short. Tell him, bye, John's calling. Let him drift away. Send John a message. He's all yours." I've read all of your comments. It seems like you're being naive and have rose-colored glasses. Everyone's pointing out the obvious about your boyfriend. You seem to be defending him a lot in the comments, so I highly doubt you will ever leave him. You also mentioned that you would test him in the relationship. You're only 19, so you're not as mature and probably have limited life experience. I would recommend you take a break from dating until you're mature enough for a real relationship and can actually recognize red flags and maybe see a therapist too. OP says, "You're right about some of that, and while I do read all the comments, I'm not necessarily going to listen to all the advice. My post is a little glimpse into my relationship and an issue that can be worked out calmly or will end my relationship depending on what he says when I talk to him, which hasn't been done yet because of our time difference. I'll update y'all on how that goes though." You ever just stare at a house fire and know that there's nothing you can do to put it out because you have a little handheld water gun and that's not enough to put the fire out? That really feels like what the comments are doing right here. They're trying to put a fire out with a water gun. This is just so much more messed up than I thought it would be, and I realize that OP is going to have to learn from their mistakes. They're going to have to get burned a few times before they're like, maybe I shouldn't touch the hot surface. Maybe I'm the problem. Like, I don't know how obvious you can make it to someone that they're walking into disaster knowingly, and that the best case is they leave and start again with someone that is not gay and using them as a beard? I don't know. That seems like the normal thing to do, but she apparently doesn't want that. And I want to know how many people cringed being like, don't marry an army man. Don't get married into the military, please. Don't do it. It's a trap. OP just walked into an amusement park full of traps and was like, I love it here. This is home. This is where I'm meant to be. Guys, stop trying to get me out of the trap park. I love it here. I actually know what I'm doing. I'm smart. Good luck, OP. No. You're not overreacting, actually. You're reacting perfectly normally. Keep going. And now, on to the update. I'll keep this short. I broke up with him. Damn it, why? Why would you do that? I talked to him yesterday about all the reasons that I didn't like the idea of him marrying his best friend John, the fact that if he got found out, it would be bad for the both of them, that marriage shouldn't be used for dumbass reasons, that I literally could have married him if he asked, dumb as that might be. Dum. I told him how unlikely it would be even for him to be able to move out of the barracks right away, and for him to want to marry someone else to get away from a few bugs was stupid. He went off on me, saying that it was for me, so he could get extra money and save it for us, and I didn't know how shitty the barracks is. I asked him how he would feel if I wanted to marry one of my friends, and he said as long as I had a good reason and it would get me actual benefits, he's all for it. Shocker, right? He's totally fine with willy-nilly marrying people. That's right, marrying people is like high-fiving someone. It's so casual and easy. I told him that I'm absolutely against it, and if he actually would marry him, then I'm done. I won't be his side piece, and he said, okay, then don't. I said fine, and then hung up. Wait, why didn't you go, fine, John's calling, bye. I blocked him everywhere, and I don't want to talk to him again. I really thought we had all the same beliefs, but I'm glad that I found this out now. I'm pretty crushed that it turned out like this, but I'm sure it's better this way. In the comments, Ryan Cool says, it's so hard for younger people to learn from their elders' mistakes. So like you've said before, you're not really going to listen to this. You're 19. You think you know what you want, just like my sister did when she was 19. She married her military boyfriend that she had only known for about a year. But like you, she had only spent a few months with him, never lived with him, etc. You think you know what you want, but I can guarantee you that 10 years from now, you will look back on this time and you will be a totally different person. My sister wanted to be a stay-at-home mum. It sounded so easy and fun. She ended up divorced, no college education, and no way to support her 3 children. Her husband was a typical military alpha dude. He cheated on her multiple times when overseas. He is now married again, and him and his new wife have called the cops on each other no less than a dozen times. They are alcoholics, and they beat each other. They never learned from their early adult experiences. They just simmered in them. My sister has had to raise her 3 girls on her own, with no education. I just got married a month back to the love of my life, and in 6 years, we haven't fought once, argued once, called each other names once. You want to know why? Because I learned from my early on relationships. I dated dozens of people. I lived with 3 of them, one for over 5 years. I never got married because after the honeymoon period, my relationships always turned to shit. We learned we couldn't live with each other. We had different views on children, finances, alcohol, family, whatever. When you're young, you think love can overcome everything. It can't overcome you wanting to have kids and your partner doesn't. Love can't overcome one of you wanting a dual-income household and the other wanting to be a stay-at-home parent. Hell, I've seen snoring break up an otherwise loving relationship because love is not all you need. It is in fact a CPAP machine. My advice would be, why are you jumping into marriage so quickly? You have nothing to lose waiting on that. OP replies, you're correct in that most things don't pan out how we envision them, but the post wasn't about me marrying him. It was about him wanting to marry his friend for seemingly silly reasons. I want to strangle OP. I really do. What are you talking about? Love definitely does not overcome everything, because if it did, I wouldn't have broken up with him. I love him to the end of the world, but with our different views, it just wouldn't work, and there would be strife in the relationship. Now I'm nowhere replies, age has given them experience, but evidently not enough patience to actually read your post. You made the right call. Sorry, I don't date married men is a totally reasonable standard to hold. Some would say the bare minimum. I'm not going to read more comments than that. I'm going to start screaming and tearing this place down. This cell that I'm being held in by Connor, I'm going to go absolutely beast mode at the sheer stupidity of OP. OP really said, I'm so happy for you, or sorry that happened, but hell nah, I ain't reading all that. Bobby, those kids would be so upset if they could read that right now. I just know OP's going to do this again. And she is going to get burnt so hard. And I bet you she's not going to come to Reddit to talk about it because, maybe those people online were right and that I'm an idiot and I should have listened to them and not done stupid idiot things. Look, I'm all for the entertainment of it. It is so entertaining reading these stories and seeing them not learn from their mistakes and others' mistakes and being like, actually, nah, I see what you're saying, but I don't. Please, OP, I'm begging you, please come back when you've actually gotten back together with this guy and agreed to the marriage. I really need to see that. Please, God, please come back. I'm begging. Thank you for the story. Looking forward to what the future holds. Our next post is by user LazyLizard13, and it's titled, My boyfriend, 24 male, wants me, 23 female, to do all the housework, even though we both work full-time and I'm in school, but he is not. My boyfriend is pretty traditional, but not in a sexist kind of way. Oh, of course. And you know what, OP? My relationship's perfect, except for this one thing. That's what they all say. He was raised by a single mom with the help of the women in his family. Sexism is not the issue here. We have a beautiful relationship, but when we argue, this is normally what it's about. He does help me with the house sometimes, but if I ever ask him to do more, or I fall behind on some stuff, we revert back to this same argument. When we got together almost 5 years ago, 19 female and 20 male, he told me that if I ever wanted to quit my job, he would take care of money and I would take care of the house. Which is fair. I hate working, so this would be a dream for me. For a while, I worked part-time jobs and he took care of most of the housework. Guys, I promise you I'm not intentionally choosing stories that repeat themes. I know the episode before this repeated the theme. I swear to God it's random. I wound up getting promoted and have worked full-time for about 2 years now. We also have more expenses now, so me quitting my job isn't an option. He has a management position with a railroad company, while I'm the sole store manager of a department store. I'm also currently in school, almost done with my bachelor's. When we started the arrangement, it made sense because he both worked more and made more money. Now, he still works more, but rather than 25 to 30 hours, me, and 40 to 60 hours, him, the comparison is 40 to 45 hours me, and still 40 to 60 hours him. He also still makes more. We have about a $20,000 to $30,000 per year gap. I am also in college part-time, so I take 2 classes per semester and 1 to 2 in the summer when I can. When it comes to finances, he pays all of our bills, totaling somewhere around $1,500 to $2,000 per month, while I pay for our animals, $200 to $400 per month. We have a lot, and a storage unit that we share, $110. I also buy most of our food, around $300 per month, and put what I can to the side so that we have a nice cushion if we need it. We go round and round because he thinks that since he pays all the bills, has a more physically taxing job, and works 12-hour shifts, I work 8-hour shifts, this means that I should take care of all of the housework. I don't believe this is fair. Yes, he pays all of our utilities and rent, but my contribution of the storage unit, food, and animal care still counts as paying bills and contributing. When it comes to school, he dismisses this in arguments because I take online classes and I see the amount of time you spend on school. It isn't much. When I argue that we both work full-time, that doesn't matter because either my job is easy and he works more than I do, makes more money, has longer shifts, and his job is more demanding. These things are true of his position, but my job is not easy. It is also very demanding, as I have employees who answer to me. They call me at all hours of the day and night. I run a department store by myself with no other management. Although I don't think his comparison is fair, I do believe that I should pull more weight than him around the house, especially because of the nature of his job, though I don't think I should have to do it all. He also says that I don't contribute financially, but I do. Just not when it comes to the actual utilities and bills. I'm not sure how to explain to him that what he wants isn't fair. We both work full-time, and I also go to school. Why should I do all of the housework just because you're the breadwinner and pay most of the bills? It just doesn't make sense to me. Am I wrong? Edit. I also would like to add that I don't keep up with housework at all. Things just become a wreck, we eat a lot of fast food, etc., so it actually isn't even currently happening as he wants it to. I just want him to understand my side. I think we could do better with keeping things clean if he would help more. In the comments, the bad agent says, "It's time to rehome him. He is not a keeper. Not the asshole unless you keep him." I love how she said he's not sexist so many times. The lady doth protest too much. Not the asshole. He can hire and pay for a maid, but this is not a meat sack worth holding on to. The best upgrade from that guy is being single. Why should he hire a real maid when he's got a free bang maid? Girl, you deserve better, not the asshole. He is traditional in a sexist way. Any man that expects the woman to do all of the housework is sexist. Real partners share the load. He needs to either grow up or you leave. You are not his servant. If he does want to help with housework or to do it himself, then he needs to hire a cleaning service. Point blank, period. This is actually what we did. My wife and I are both terrible at all sorts of chores. Rather than argue about it or leave them done inadequately, we pay someone to do those chores. Guys, let's go look in the comments now. Someone's gonna be like, Marky, you're actually anti-men for saying anything about this that is not in support of the man in this situation. Like there was that story yesterday where those two got married right out of college, and yes, the guy was pulling 80 hours a week. And that led to resentment with his partner being a stay-at-home mum, breaking it off and continuously holding it against him. I understand that working 80 hours a week is insane, and it makes sense why that relationship broke down the way it did. In saying that, did you guys also get those TikToks of like the average blue-collar worker when he's like headed home, or just anything average blue-collar worker with that crazy filter over that guy's face? Those are the vibes that I'm getting from this one.
You vote bitch. I hate you. I hate my family. You want me to come back home for Christmas?
Kind of just screaming the house down because he's the backbone of society and he keeps society running. And how dare you ask him to do anything at home because he works 25-hour shifts 8 days a week, keeping this household afloat. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm taking the piss. I'm obviously taking the piss. I think him working 60 hours a week is insane. I know that's normal to a lot of people, so I'm not going to argue that point, but that's causing a lot of friction. I don't see any other options in this situation besides Opie just leaving him and dealing with her own life, or them coming to a mutual agreement to get maids to come in and do the housework and reorganizing their share of bills that they pay each so that it's more equal and no one can have a position of being like, I pay everything, so you should be doing everything because I pay everything, I'm the breadwinner. If you don't come to an agreement like that, you're gonna get average blue-collar worker TikTok man. And that's not healthy, that's not good. I don't think you want him to be like that. So I really do hope you can have that conversation with him and that he is reasonable and sees where you're coming from and you both come to an agreement together on how to fix this situation. That would be lovely. And now, onto the update. Much longer than anticipated, and I'm sorry. That's what I said. I wound up having an open and honest conversation with my boyfriend a few weeks after this post about all of this, as well as some other struggles that I've been having in our relationship. I came at it from the angle of how I feel emotionally, that I am lacking a partnership, and I feel that he doesn't care. It was received extremely well. He doesn't talk emotions often. He took a day or two to think, and then he came back to me to basically explain that work has been making him really stressed, and it threw him into a deep depression. It was easier for him to deflect and argue and put housework on me than address what was wrong with him. He hadn't realized how deep he was in it, how awful the shit he was saying was, nor how much it affected me until I told him how severe this stuff was weighing on me. He hadn't really been shown love before I came into his life, and he was pushing me away when he should have been letting me in and leaning on me emotionally. Since that convo, our relationship has done a 180. I feel like I got my partner back. He understands that we need to work together. It cannot all fall on me, and he doesn't want it to. Our relationship is so much stronger than it has been in months. It's been a few months now since this change, and day by day I see him putting in more effort into us and our lives. Work still takes a lot out of him, but he is a whole different person and partner now. Just wanted to give the positive update that many didn't anticipate, mainly to prove that Reddit doesn't always have all the answers. I'm very happy to see things work out with us. I told y'all that I had to see it through, and it was well worth it. A little open communication and emotional vulnerability and support can go a long way. I can't wait to see what the future holds. Thank you to anyone who invested any time or input into this situation. In the comments, Janet in Spain says, "Opie, I hope this is true and he isn't love-bombing you so you'll stay. I hope he really has changed. Be prepared for it to not last. But I truly do hope it does." OP says, "We've been together for 5 years. There was a time before this, which is why I stuck it through. I know who he is and what he is capable of. I feel like I have him back like he used to be. Not that he is love-bombing, and even if so, I've been love-bombed before, and they normally can't keep it up for more than a month. We will see though." Velvet Mischief says, "This is such a refreshing update. Proof that real growth can happen when both people are willing to listen, reflect, and communicate. I'm so glad that you got your partner back. Wishing you both continued strength and teamwork moving forward." And OP says, "Thank you so much. This means a lot to me. That's why I shared it. I wanted to show a positive outcome compared to the pessimistic outlook that many Redditors have, especially when it comes to relationships." The comments on my original post got insane. People even suggested that he would start tampering with my birth control. OP, I'm sure they're not talking from experience or anything, no. They're the insane ones. Thankfully, I knew in my heart that I know my boyfriend better than anyone else. I wasn't ready to walk away over a rough patch, only if he didn't change his ways in the near future. And he for sure has done a 180. Not just with me, but with his entire life and mental health. Of course, he isn't 100%, but the change I've seen is huge. Julia X 1984 says, "I guess the single mum and aunts who raised him didn't love him." Shrug. It's possible that they didn't show love in the way that he needed. Maybe his single mum had to work a ton to make ends meet and wasn't around much, and other family were just there to help physically, and not really emotionally. Who knows? Just throwing it out there. It doesn't sound like he addressed at all the root of his depression or is finding treatment for it. He's just decided to put in more deliberate energy into salvaging his relationship because it's important to him, but without addressing his depression and job situation that put it in jeopardy in the first place, he's going to burn out hard. And in this economy, it is very hard to recover from burnout because you can't afford to take the break you need to recuperate. OP is happy for now because I'm sure the effort that he's putting in is genuine, but it's only fixing her problem, not his. But it's okay though, because Reddit doesn't have all the answers, guys, and Reddit doesn't know what it's talking about. Actually, I solved this problem with him. Nothing actually changed, by the way. He just decided that he's gonna thug it out. Yeah, true love prevails in the end. Let's go. I love this capitalist society that we live in, baby. Pump me up to 80 hours a week. That'll solve this situation. As far as I'm concerned, let 1,000 blossoms bloom with OP and OP's husband. But like this last comment said, it doesn't sound like he addressed the root of his depression or is finding treatment for it. Something has to change, because if it doesn't change, he is going to break. He is going to experience burnout, and the effects of that can and could be permanent. He could be permanently damaged by this. As happy as OP is feeling currently, and feeling like she conquered Reddit and Reddit's demons, I don't think it's a happy update, I'm gonna be real with you. No real change was actually made in their circumstances. It's just that he decided that he wants to work harder to keep this relationship afloat. Brother, them 60 hours a week you're doing is gonna burn you out to the ground. It don't matter how much you want to keep this relationship going. That 60 hours a week you're doing has to change. And I get, in this economy, that's not an easy choice. That is a very difficult choice to make, and it feels like it can't happen. But at this point, if you don't make that choice to work less hours or find a different job that will give you less hours than what you're currently doing, he is going to crash and burn. I'm assuming and speculating, of course, but that is where I see the relationship going. It's great right now, but he is not going to survive this. Good luck, OP. Please come back with another update and let us know how this went.